Ah, perfect. Just the person I need to see. Firstly, loving the outfit, by the way. Really suits your hair. Secondly, the universe is falling apart. I don't have much time to yet. I need to shoot off. I need to do something. But by all means, this is imperative. Watch Type 40. The Type 40 podcast is where you need to be. Seguida!
It's time for Type 40 Live, and here we are materialising as if by magic again with the live stream Doctor Who magazine show. We're plastered all across your view screen here in real time on Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too. Even better than that, we're live in front of a chat full of fellow friends, fans, and companions, just like you. And yeah, whilst the modern Time Lords out there are happy to sit moping around, aren't they? Have you noticed that in the 21st century? Moping around, or they're standing around singing or twerking or doing whatever else. We've got the moves that matter on the panel and out there too to deliver blow by blow. God. With precision and aplomb here on Type 40 Live. Who is it thinks up this stuff? I don't know. Hello, welcome back to the console room. Welcome back to Thursday hour time. Anyway, in the same space as ever. I am sort of wrapped up in black here in the time vortex, and wherever you are, I hope the weather's slightly better. So we're across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X as always. If you're over in the Type 40 Facebook group, please hit that little blue link, and then Facebook will tell StreamYard exactly who you are. StreamYard tells us here in the console room, and we all get on first name terms for a bloody good chat. We're going to get deep into the past, the present, and the future of Doctor Who on this edition of the show as the nights are drawing in. Everything's getting that little bit darker, so we're going with this. I thought we'd go with this. It's the dark theme. That's what they call it, isn't it? Dark mode. Sorry, dark mode. Thought this would be quite fitting as we line them up. So we've got a panel to bring on, as always, of our esteemed Who pundits and a special guest as well. So yes, sit tight. I see we've got some comments already. Thank you so much for all of that. Okay, who's first? He's just made it, I'm happy to say. He's looking, I think he's a little windswept, but he's present. He's smiling at me. I think it's just to say, just get on with it, Dan. Simon Horton.
I'm not sure. Am I looking windswept? I probably am, actually. Yeah. Look, truth be told, I've got an absolute stinker of a cold. I think so many people have got stinkers of colds at the moment, and I've got a stinker of cold. So don't get too close to the screen, because you might catch germs that you just don't want.
Yeah, I'm doped up too, mate. I think it's very much the season.
Yeah, afraid so. It is. It's autumn has hit with a thud, quite frankly, and it's the first cold I've had so far this year, so I can't complain. Yeah. But yeah, I'm completely clotted up and popping the paracetamols and the painkillers and the vitamin C and you name it. There we go.
So you've got the lights down lower at Shea Horton as well, then?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the dark mode here. Doesn't that just look so much better? than what we normally get. It's very Empire Strikes Back, actually, isn't it? That's what it reminds me of.
I was trying to think what it reminded me of, and I think with the walkway looking like that, looking a little less cheap and nasty in the darker lighting, doesn't it? It does look a bit Death Starry.
Yeah, in a good way, in a very, very, very good way. Where is this from? Is this a sort of recent release of?
This is from the episode. Now you may have blocked this out. It's from the episode called "The Devil's Cord" from earlier this year.
Is it really?
I know.
God, I have zero memory of that at all. Absolutely zero.
Russell, it made a big influence on Simon Horton.
Clearly, literally
you can get
zero memory of that. But it does look very cool, and it's very Halloween. It's very, very good for October.
Oh, Charlotte, who could forget The Devil's Cord?
Well, I watched it, and until you said it, I was like, really? I thought maybe it was finale when like the TARDIS got taken over by a big dog. But yeah, no, it must have been when they were about to go to the future that's going to happen.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay,
that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, I just can't remember. Can you not remember, Dan? Clearly, you can't remember either.
Oh no, I can't. I just thought it would look pretty. Like
it does.
I think it's at the beginning of the episode when the bells of doom are ringing. I think.
Well, it's like you said. It's because we're so used to that TARDIS being lit up like a disco ball, aren't we? Currently, so to have that contrast and to sort of have the lights be really on show because of the darkness, it makes the console actually. I think the console looks better with those sort of fluorescent almost theme going forward.
Yeah, I agree.
And a dash of red as well. It could almost be the front bonnet of Kit, the talking car from Knight Rider, or one of the Cylons, or that kind of thing. That's how I like to look at it.
Or like Back to the Future makes me think of DeLorean a bit.
Oh yeah, could be. Is all of this going over your head, John?
Oh, The Devil's Cord. Wonderful stuff. Puts a therapist into salary keep for about 4 years, or is it just me? So magical, that story. Great.
You love that, don't you? I know you love that story, John. You're just going to keep rewatching it, aren't you?
My big question, I think, though, John, for you is, have you gone into dark mode yet? So are the street lights all sort of low in your part of the world? And
RTD2 episode 1 put me into dark mode. So I've been there for quite a while, mate. I've got to be honest.
Because obviously autumn is continuing, isn't it? Winter is on the way. Won't be too far in the future.
And I was just going to say, you lot have got colds up there.
Keep
them there. Yeah. We don't want them down south. Okay. And the wonderful Tom at T-Dwarf Productions has created my little mechanoid.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
So he's coming to the screen and he's going to wipe out your colds.
Wow, he's fantastic. How big is that? And that's bigger than I thought. Because I saw these on social media earlier on in the week. That's big.
If I do head-to-head scale, it's clearly bigger than me, isn't it?
What is that? Is that about the size of a sort of tennis ball or something like that? Is that?
Yeah, just a little bit smaller. Yeah.
It's very, very cool. I've got my T-Dwarf production things here.
Brilliant.
Tom's just said, where is the Zygon? There's the Zygon. There's Broton still looking absolutely mad.
Anybody in the chat, if you haven't checked out T-Dwarf Productions yet, please do, because Tom's great.
They are the coolest things on the planet. They really are.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful stuff. Okay, well, that's an extra. We've got a mechanoid on the panel as well. That's one extra than I'd allowed for, but there are a couple more people about to materialise. First of all, yes, it's a newcomer to the show. He's never been on the show before. I don't know if he's been on YouTube before, but he's certainly done a lot of media over the last 15, 20 years, 20 plus years. I don't know age him too much, but you may recognise his voice or his face or both, either from the media, somewhere he's done a lot of TV, probably a bit of radio as well. But I think first and foremost, and the reason why he's here is because he's a massive, long-time Doctor Who fan. I'm happy to welcome Anthony Weiner to Type 40 Live.
Hello, Dan. Hello, everybody.
Woo! Hello, Anthony. Welcome.
Hello. Good to have you with us. I was about to say, have you gone into dark mode yet there, Anthony? But it actually looks really Christmassy where you are with your wall and what's going on? Yeah, you've gone seasonal.
A little bit of autumn behind me, but I've gone into autumn mode. But like everybody else, I have no recollection of the TARDIS being that dark in Devil's Cord. Did I see this?
Look, Anthony, I can only assume this was a way into the Devil's Cord, and by the time we got to it, we'd all sort of switched off. That's the only conclusion I.
Well, I think I feel the same. I do agree with the Star Wars vibe. I kind of quite like it, but it's not the story I remember. I remember sort of dancing and lots of songs and jollity. I don't remember it looking as dark or as miserable as that. So that's a great photo. I wished it looked like that when it gone out.
I think
maybe it did, and we just missed it.
I think there were lots of shots and scenes and moments like this that did kind of get lost a little along the way in those episodes because, a great many of them, they didn't really hit the mark for a lot of us. But looking back, it's been a few months now. Maybe if we revisited, what am I talking about?
Dan, I have to watch Jinx again if I watch this episode. I'm not changing my opinion.
Yes, a review of The Devil's Cord is coming to Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast soon. Make no mistake about that. Yes, so there's a lot to pull to open on this time. News, views, nostalgia, and banter aplenty as always. I forgot to say that I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks.
They know that.
You know that anyway, don't you?
They know that.
You know. But this is where we talk about all things from across the Whoniverse with a live chat full of various comments from people out there across social media, the fourth, the fifth dimension, probably every other dimension you could care to name as well. So keep them coming about everything we're going to talk about on this edition of the show. There's a lot to get stuck into. But I've got one word for you, Simon.
Me?
For you, yeah.
What have I done now?
The word is baubles. Baubles. I've been wanting to say that to you for a long time. Baubles. So, these are Christmas baubles. So, Christmas is on the way. We're well into the double digits now of the amount of days until Christmas. We've had a few trailers and things on social media for the Doctor Who special. We know Christmas is on the way. The annuals are in the shops as well. But you sent me these pictures of some baubles earlier in the week.
I did.
And it was all very
cryptic.
It was all very cryptic. Yeah. And so I looked, I thought, what exactly am I looking at?
Why am I sending you pictures of glittery balls?
Because baubles are baubles, aren't they? You think, well, why? So could you fill in the gaps then? So why did you send me all these pictures of all these common or garden-looking Christmas baubles?
Well, there's a very, very good reason. I can exclusively reveal that as far as we know, these are screen-used props from the Christmas Invasion, possibly also the Runaway Bride. We can't be certain. We're hoping that somebody in the chat might recognise these glittery balls. I suspect that they were probably in maybe Howell's shop window display in the Christmas Invasion, maybe on some of the market stalls, don't know. In the Runaway Bride, maybe they were in Donna's wedding, something like that. We don't know. Please, if you recognise these baubles from the first, second or even third Christmas special, do let us know. And the story behind these is I was contacted a couple of weeks ago by a very, very good friend of mine from many, many, many moons ago, 35 years ago. A good friend of mine called Mark, who runs a charity shop in Cardiff. Contacted me and said that somebody from the BBC had dropped off box after box after box of these glittery baubles for the shop, for the charity shop to sell, to make money, obviously, for the charity shop.
Make a few quid.
And that they didn't say exactly where they were from, but there are clues on the boxes, written on the boxes on the outside. There are clues written that very clearly say Doctor Who Season 1. And so the only conclusion we can come to, there we go, red baubles, Doctor Who Series 1, large gold baubles, Doctor Who Season 1. So through very, very, I mean, you know, this is real Murder, She Wrote kind of stuff. This is through all of this, we kind of have deduced that this must be a box after box of baubles that we use.
Authentic, original Doctor Who balls.
Yeah.
Seventh Doctor look, because if you look at that box, look, you see the umbrella? But
Oh, there's the umbrella. Very good. Very good.
This is
I haven't got it
extraordinary.
wrong. Maybe it's actually Doctor Who season 1, as in 1963. No, it's not. Clearly, it's not. We're joking. This is, as I say, I am assuming that these were on the Christmas Invasion at minimum, but we don't know. We can't be certain. So please don't quote us on any of this.
Can you shed any light on this, Anthony? Do they look familiar, these balls, to you?
Well, I was going to jump in. I'm sure, Simon, you're probably sat on a gold mine because
they're not mine. Not mine.
There are Doctor Who collectors out there, which I include myself, that would quite like a Doctor Who Christmas bauble in one's home. But I was going to jump in and say that I was actually on the night of the filming where the Santas had their big trombones.
Oh yes, go on.
Firing out fire.
Yeah.
And I had been in Cardiff for much of that day, so I saw that recording into the evening. But it was a massive setup, and all I can say is the effort that went into the marketplace, getting the outside. I think it's either Dingles or Howells in Cardiff where they filmed outside. That was a massive setup, and there must have been copious amounts of those Christmas decorations on that big tree that fell down. So it could well be one of those. But I do feel as though those gold ones have got a bit of a Yeti vibe about them. So you can't flog them as Christmas Invasion baubles. You could sell them as Yeti ones.
Well, you certainly could. I mean, I tell you what, Anthony, there are a heck of a lot of these baubles. Yeah. There are 34 red metallic ones. There are 31 large red glittery ones, 40 medium red glittery ones, 14 extra large blue glittery ones. These go on and on and on. There are so many of these things, and apparently the large ones, apparently the size of a football. So these are mega baubles we're talking here. They're mega baubles.
But do you know what I find
all
weird?
our Christmases.
Do you know what I find weird? That they've kept them this long. Like, if this is from
exactly
the first series of the new.
Yeah, good point.
You'd think they'd have been reused because there was a few Christmas specials after series
Well, they could have been,
one.
Dan. We don't know. They could well have been used. They wouldn't have, let's be honest, on the box and the outside, they wouldn't have crossed out series 1 and put series 2 or 3 or 5. They wouldn't have done that.
I suppose not.
They'd have just rolled them out again.
Yeah, because there was Christmas specials, but not all of them would suit that sort of big bauble. So it's the fact that they've been in the back of some storeroom in the BBC for this long.
Now, Charlotte, Charlotte, you would not believe. So I was really fortunate in between series 1 and series 2 going to the studio. And I remember walking on the way to the Eccleston TARDIS then. And I remember these various props, they were just thrown around. So it's literally what you're saying, Charlotte, is that they were thrown around, boxes, piles of stuff. And I remember it hadn't been transmitted then. It said, I picked up this one prop and it said Egg of Marg. And I thought, I wonder what the Marg are going to be. The Egg of Marg. Well, of course, it was Margaret Blaine. But somebody had literally just scribbled Egg of Marg on an egg and just thrown it. I was thinking, I've got a little scoop here. Here come the Marg.
and in exactly the same way, Anthony, they just scribbled on the side of this box, Doctor Who season 1.
What it reminded me of, Simon.
But I think there is a good chance that these baubles were seen in other Christmas specials. So every time we are setting you up here, I'm afraid. Every time you now watch a Christmas special, you are going to be looking out for these glittery balls in gold and silver and blue and red and looking like Yeti spheres. They're out there now. And the fun part.
Well, I have to say, Simon, that I'd assumed it was the Christmas Invasion, but the Unquiet Dead was set at Christmas as well. Was there a Christmas tree in that? Christmas decorations in that?
No, but they wouldn't have had baubles on, would they?
I'm thinking,
no, I suppose not.
What I'm thinking about as well for Donna's reception.
I think so. I think so.
When they had the reception, after the wedding.
I think so. I'm sure there were baubles in Donna's wedding. Sure there were. And as I say, the beauty of all of this is, if you want to, you can go and buy these for yourself. They are, as far as we know, they are genuine screen-used props, and they're for sale at the moment in a Marie Curie shop in Canton, in Cardiff. So you can go and buy them. And I'm sure if you ask Mark very, very nicely, he might even sell you a box as well that's got Doctor Who Season 1 written on them. But I mean, seriously, if anybody, as Anthony's just said, there are people out there, serious collectors, who would pay a lot of money for these, because as far as we know, these are screen used props. So if if there's anybody out there, a serious collector that wants to make a serious offer on a heck of a lot of Christmas baubles, get in touch with us at Type 40, and we'll pass your details on to the shop in Cardiff and help facilitate you getting hold of these baubles. Please, whatever you do, please do not bombard the shop with telephone calls saying, can you hold on to one glittery red ball for me, please? Because I don't think they'll be very pleased. So please, they can't hold on to these for you. You can't ask them to hold on to a bauble, and they can't send them to you. They're not available on mail order. You've got to go to the shop in Canton in Cardiff. Or, as I say, if there's a serious offer out there, come to Type 40 and we will put you in touch with the shop.
In all seriousness, Simon, that was the very first thing that came to my mind. I thought, surely these are fiercely collectible. They could be worth a fortune, or at least somebody would bid on these and they would make a nice sum of money for Marie Curie.
Yes, and that's the whole point. It's for charity. So whatever money you pay is going to the charity shop. So this charity shop is really, really lucky to have been given all these. But I think they are kind of wondering, what do we do with them all now? I'm not in any doubt that they will sell them in the run up to Christmas without any problem at all if they stick them out on the shelves. But these do need to go to collectors. It would be lovely to think that Doctor Who fans out there got themselves some Christmas baubles as used on screen in the Christmas Invasion, at least, we think, and you can put it on your Christmas tree forevermore. I mean, I just think they're absolute gold mine. Somebody will love these.
What a load of balls we bring you time and time again, week after week here at Type 40 Live. So yes, whilst you're checking your bank balance and wondering how you could get down to Cardiff there to get yourself some authentic Doctor Who baubles, we're going to check in with the live chat across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook and X2 to see exactly what's going on there. Who's saying what about where and when in space and time?
The only way you can help save the universe is by watching Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast.
No time wasters, says
yes,
Peter
no
Harrington.
time wasters.
straight in with that. I think Anthony's having a couple of connection problems. Hopefully he'll be back in a moment or two. So there's a few teething problems there for the guy. We've got a lot of comments here. Thank you everybody for being so patient and indulging our nonsense once again and being here from the get-go, just like Woodhouse 122 with his evening all. Thank you Woodhouse. Never gets old, that does it. Never gets old. We've got a lovely here from Crumpling Doubloon there, Anthony. We've got lots of comments here to get into. We've got beautiful from Peter Harrington. Well, thank you very much. We try our best, don't we, John?
I have got to say as well, Stephen Braddock has also got a cold. There's at least one person in the chat that's got a cold, and that's Stephen. So you have my commiserations, Stephen. Anybody else out there got cold?
I suspect we'd probably save time by just asking who hasn't got a cold.
Probably quicker, Dan. Actually, yeah.
Sealing the Dorset borders in 3, 2, 1, 2.
I can never come near you then, John.
Deflect the shields to maximum.
Oh dear. Evening, Rob Alexander there in the live chat on YouTube. Happy to have you back with us. And Rose Kirby's there too. Hello, you wonderful people. Good morning. No pressure, Rose. Good afternoon. Good evening. Friday morning, wherever you are in the universe. Rose likes to cover all bases, Anthony. We get a very comprehensive greeting every week. This is what our punters are like here.
Yeah. And as I said, Dan, when we first caught up about me doing this and coming onto this, I've been loitering every Thursday evening between 8 and 11, just chomping at the bit. And as I was saying to Charlotte before Simon came on, last week I had the dreaded flu, and I was lying in bed, and Simon was talking about Planet of Evil, and I looked at the time, and it was about 11:15. I thought, he's still going.
Hey, listen, once you start me on Planet of Evil, Anthony, you won't stop me.
Wow. And what you were saying was brilliant. And I mean,
you're very kind.
Everything you were saying was great, but I thought, gosh, he's still going. He's still going.
So we don't stop on this show, Anthony. We don't.
We only have to change his batteries every 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, I definitely need a battery change after this one, I tell you.
We've got Michael Q in the live chat. Hard pass. He's a hard pass.
I don't even know what that means, and I think it's best not to ask.
We'll explain later in true Doctor Who style. We've got Matt Potts up. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning for Matt Potts.
Are you mad? Why have you got up just to watch us? Good grief. Go back to bed, man.
He's multitasking. He's also having some breakfast by the sounds of it.
Ooh,
he's been having Vegemite on crumpets, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's what Matt Potts eating, Vegemite and crumpets. Listen, he's Australian, of course he's eating Vegemite.
We've got a good evening here from Christopher Lewis. That's a new name. I don't remember seeing Christopher's name before. Welcome to Type 40 Live. If it is your first time, Christopher, get some comments in by all means. Evening Troops, says Neville Simon.
Evening, Neville.
And David Jenkins is in too. Hi everyone, and a round of applause already. We've not even started when he was doing that, so there we go. That's commitment for you.
Yeah, good old David. Hello, Dave.
Richard Brooks is in. So is Tom. Tom is present. Hi everyone. I've finally finished all of the 8-leg models, and now I'm making the Queen Spider. So he's been building his way up in his model making. That's how it works, Anthony. So he's been building his way up to the big one, to the Queen.
Yeah, I can see. I feel a bit left out because John's got his mechanoid and Simon's got his Vogue robot. I'm not sure what Charlotte's going to produce in a minute, but I don't have any toys. I don't have any toys here. I wish I'd bought.
Tom will make them for you.
Tom will sort you out. Yeah.
All I've got to offer is my white void around me.
You're going all mine.
And I have nothing.
Yeah. What you're holding on
bless
to.
you, Anthony.
Oh, give it time. Give it time. They're a good bunch here across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. They said there's all manner of things. We have, so we've got Neville, we've got Peter, we've got Stephen Braddock. Yeah, he's here. He's battered, but he's not bowed. Yeah, complete with his cold. We've got Nicholas Horton in too with a hi, everyone. Hi, Nicholas.
Hello, Nicholas.
And we've got Lee Nippy. Sorry,
not Lee Nippy
Smith.
at all.
I'm not obsessed. Honestly, if Char's watching, she'll have my life over that. Lee Smith says, getting nippy. Not yet, but the night is young was what I was going to say. Evening, Dan and chat. Happy Thursday stream from the Big Blue Box. Happy Thursday to you too, Gary. Happy to have you back with us. Gary's going to be dragged back to the console room here in the not too distant future, whether he likes it or not. I'm going to grab him by the short and curlies. We've got more from Robert Payne as well. Hope the bogey monster.
It's too late, Robert.
He's talking about space babies. I hope the bogey monster doesn't turn up at Simon's.
It's too late. You should see my handkerchief that's just out of shot. Actually, no, forget that. You don't. Move on, Dan.
All that unpleasantness. But it's your response to space babies as well. Oh dear. Michael Q thought it was the Master's TARDIS earlier on when we got the black console room out on the go.
Yep. Fair point. That's what the Master's TARDIS always used to look like in the 80s.
It
I
was.
used to love that, didn't you? Back in the day,
I did. I loved it.
So simple. You had the Master is evil, so we're going to make his TARDIS black,
jet black.
It worked.
Yeah,
it did work. But my mystery always around that and watching that was: did they have the original white console room, and then some poor person with black paint had to paint it black? And
I always wondered.
Yes. Yes, Anthony,
really?
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And the floor, don't forget
Simon.
the floor.
But they didn't have, because they used to be fair, they used to repaint the floor. You know, I used to work above a huge photographic studio. They painted the floor twice a day, so I'd imagine the TV studios are the same. But the walls, I'd sort of assumed that maybe they've got a black side and a white side, they just rotate them. But they did repaint the sod.
They really did repaint them. They really did. You wouldn't
Tony
want that
Farrell
job,
says,
would you?
No, all around all those roundels. Wow, you'd have a good claim for RSI after that. Tony Farrell says, keep it in the dark. It looks much better.
Yeah, and Tony Farrell, he knows his TARDISes. Tony Farrell knows more about TARDISes than it is possible to know. So he knows what he's talking about. Listen to Big T.
People do like it. Listen to Big T every single time. We've got Ezra Goldstein's in the live chat as well, asking about Doctor Who figures. We'll come to that in a short while. And Cheryl's here as well with a get well soon. Just for you, Simon. Just for you. That's a lovely thing to put out there.
That's really very kind of you. Thank you very much, Shell. That's very kind of you. I'm fine, really.
Robert Payne said, remember, there's always a twit at the end. Well, it's usually me that says the bit at the end. Thanks very much, Robert. You can stay anyway. And Cheryl's asking, hello, everyone. How's your evening going? How's your evening going so far, John?
Oh, it's tickety-boo. Thanks very much. I'm enjoying myself.
How's Cheryl's going? That's what we need to know.
Good point. Good point.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Kieran Cole is in the live chat. They're not having a bad night at all so far, I don't think. Hello, everybody, says Kieran. Always good to see you along as well. And lots more besides too. So keep it all coming, everybody, and get talking amongst yourselves and chip in with all the nonsense. I mean, all the deep, insightful gold that we've got to share with you over the next couple of hours here at Type 40 Live. We have got toys, we've got nostalgia, we've got the here and the now, and we have the Candyman as well. So yeah, we've got a proper feast for your eyes and your ears. They look cheap, says Peter Harrington. I think he's talking about the baubles, but we'll gloss over that.
Rude.
Sorry. Yeah.
And we'll make sure that you can get you the contact details if you do want to get some Doctor Who baubles onto your own tree at some point as well. So keep the comments coming, everybody. Peter Harrington has offered 20 grossets. Is that each or for the lot?
Cool. Each, I would have thought.
No, he hasn't. If you reread it, he's written something completely different.
Has he?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Come on, Dan, you should be straight on that, knowing your mind.
Yeah, there's one crucial S missing out of that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, well, it shows I'm not very well. I'm not picking up on all the smut, am I?
No.
Okay, so keep it coming, everybody. Deliver it thick and fast, and if they're going to be rude ones, make them as obvious as you possibly can. By all means, we're all eyes and ears as always.
Still makes me chortle that one.
It does. It does. I keep saying it every time. I want Gummidge on Gallifrey as a series.
Doctor Who will return. Wurzel Gummidge will probably return at some point. And somebody else is returning right now, just in the nick of time as well. I'm happy to say that West Midlands Travel have delivered us and him back to the Nerd Den, exactly where he belongs, and here with us at Type 40 Live after a break of a few weeks. Welcome back, Jack. Happy to have you here, mate.
Hello, lovely to be here. Yeah, really sorry about the delays. Oh, absolute nightmare.
I know what it was. You were trying to track down the shop to get those spark baubles, weren't you? I know what you were up to.
Maybe.
Have you been, mate? How's the last couple of weeks been treating you?
Yeah, it's been okay. Just been keeping busy. I've just kind of been enjoying other nerdy stuff. To be honest, been watching the Penguin.
Other nerdy stuff. Oh yeah, I'm enjoying the Penguin as well. Yeah, we'll have to exchange notes about that at some point in the future. But I'm glad you're here because I wanted your input in particular about this. A couple of weeks ago on this show, we were wondering what the devil had happened to the season 1 Doctor Who action figures that they promised us and they teased not that long ago. They'd even shared pictures of them at the official toy fair for 2024, so the trade fair. So we've got a 15th Doctor figure there, a Ruby figure, and one of the Wraith Warriors from the Star Beast. And there was a little sort of puppet thing too, wasn't there? Beat the Meep. And it had just sort of vanished. And of course, at this time of year, or at least any day now, all the good boys and girls, Anthony, we're all making our lists, aren't we? Hoping that the big man will deliver the toys and gifts that we want. So action figures, Doctor Who action figures, they should be in the shops by now, you would think. And if season 1 of Doctor Who had gone as well as they would have thought, well, where are the bloody figures? But as soon as the words had left my lips last week, something has materialised. So we have this from Character Options. They've announced the 15th Doctor and Ruby pack, which is going to be available online from next Thursday at the character options website. And this is the blurb, the official blurb that went with it. It said, recreate the adventures of season 1. The action figures of the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday are coming from Character Toys. It's very lean, and here they are in action. So, obviously, a few years ago now, Doctor Who arguably dominated the toy aisle in Toys R Us. It was packed to the rafters with the figures, and then it all kind of went a little bit pear-shaped. I don't think it's ever really recovered from the 12 or 13 years since they sort of messed around with the sizes. They've become sort of collector's things that sell out almost as soon as they're listed. So I find this a difficult range to get enthusiastic about. But here we are at the dawn of a whole new era, Jack.
Yep.
You know, complete reset. This is the ideal time with a relaunch of the show and ideally a regeneration of interest in it to roll out a new toy line. And yet these are online exclusives. I was really surprised to see this.
Yeah, so was I, to be honest, because, well, I was under the assumption that they'd be put into the normal retail versions that we normally receive with the, well, not just with Classic Who, but some of the modern stuff as well, that's being released, such as like the 9th Doctor set and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, just looking at that image alone, like the detail on these figures have massively improved. I mean, personally, I probably will try and get them because I try and collect at least one figure from each Doctor anyway, so that'll be my excuse. But I also do feel like, again, this might be me being a bit too picky, but I feel like this has come a little bit too late.
Yeah,
I thought this would have been nicer to have in May time, you know, something to hype up the season premiere or something.
That's a good point, because technically Ruby's sort of left the TARDIS already, hasn't she, Charlotte? Yeah. So it is a bit strange. I do think the likenesses have improved. I mean, Charlotte, is this the kind of thing that you would buy, you know, just to sort of pop on a shelf somewhere? And were you surprised to see them finally announce something?
Well, like you, I was just thinking, where's the sort of the toys for that younger audience, for that sort of child audience, which the show should ideally be catering to? So yeah. I was thinking like you, where's the announcement? Where's anything? And then so we've got it now, which is good. It's fair enough to say at least we've got it. But online exclusive, to me, I'm sorry, that shows that there isn't enough interest to do it as a retail release if you have to go to an online straight away.
See, my problem is whenever they use words like exclusive, it's the opposite of the word inclusive. By its very nature, if something is exclusive, you're closing it in some way, and this needs to be opened, all of it, right the way up. It says here in the blurb here, a character in the BBC are proud to announce to fans and collectors, not to kids, fans and collectors, that the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday action figures will join the ranks of their other incarnations, companions and foes on shelves everywhere. This is the Vortex edition. They're declaring this as being. So if we're going to get back to here, where there's literally walls full of the things, John, to launch with something that's exclusive in a twin pack does seem a little odd.
Yeah, I will say that first image you put up of the toys, it's captured season 1 really well, because Shooty stood on a landmine and Ruby's taking a selfie.
Yeah,
there you go. So it's kind of set the tone really for the epic scale of that season 1. You
could say. I mean, are you a collector, Anthony? I mean, obviously you're a lifelong Doctor Who fan. A lot of us are collectors in some way, but is this something that you've left behind, or can you still find it difficult to resist a pretty dolly like this?
Well,
an action figure?
What I want to say is probably what everybody else has said. This is way too late. I feel these should have come out in May. I think the price tag I'm coming on to answer your question, Dan, but I think the price tag is large for 2 figures. I think we're talking about £40. And that image that you showed of David Tennant with all the previous character options toys there, I think they were coming in at about £5.99 or £6.99. So that image, Dan, you know, those figures were cheap and they seem to have much more appeal to children. This was a bigger product. This was really exciting to collect those figures as they are. So I'm lukewarm to these figures because I feel that they should be more mass market, but I think intrinsically it gives you kind of a message about how successful, perhaps for a younger audience, the younger audience, about how those figures haven't come out quick, you know, as quick as they have done. I think it is a niche market. Having said that, Dan, I probably will buy them because I do quite like them, and I've got all the others. So
it is nice to commemorate the launch of a sort of a new era with something like this, and they do stipulate, in all fairness, later on in the press release, you're quite right, £39.99 is the price on these, but they do say very, very lastly, a mass retail version will be available shortly afterwards in blister carded packs. Wow. So, but the Doctor will have a different shirt. He'll have a blue shirt with ocean green trousers, Simon, whilst Ruby Sunday will have a denim jacket on with a cream jumper. So there'll be variants. If you want this precise one, the costumes as seen in the Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road, then you have to get this twin pack. So
for a moment, I was worried you were going to say that Shooty was going to be in his underpants only for the cheaper one to save costs.
Give it time, mate. Give it time.
John, I was going to add, I'm surprised Shooty's turned up for his own little, you know, character options toy. He wasn't in it for most of the season, so I don't know why he's managed to make it to a blister.
No. They went to Madame Tussauds instead and used that waxwork.
You could have just had a landmine, to be fair.
But
Charlotte?
add to what you're saying, I can remember loads of the other previous Modern Doctors, they do videos with them, with the action figures, like having them sort of like
demonstrating them, yeah.
And it sort of just added to that feel of how much they were enjoying being in the role and how it just sort of warmed them. And I just find it weird that I feel like in every opportunity they're making Shooty distant when there's things like do a video with him with this, do little things just to start to warm him back up a little bit to this fandom. And it's such an easy thing to do as well. It's not like it's a hard thing to get him to sit down with a figure. Do you know, it just boggles the mind a bit.
I can't believe he's too busy.
I was going to add, Charlotte, I felt exactly the same. And also at the Doctor Who prom a couple of months back, he was not there in person. It was just a video clip. And I kind of felt if you wanted to launch the Doctor in that prom setting, I felt he should have been there, which makes me feel like he might have gone.
I think
because he doesn't feel like he's part of what we're doing, if that makes sense.
Makes absolute sense.
He's just been distant. He's always been separated from us at every opportunity. Which
he's about to go into the theatre and the importance of being earnest. I think they're rehearsing that at the moment, aren't they? So maybe that's part of the contract. I don't know, but you would think they would have recorded something in advance. But then again, foresight isn't something that the current Doctor Who production teams seem to be blessed with an enormous amount of, does it? We've got a quote here from who's this from? So we have a quote here from Catherine Ludnam, who's from Character Options. She's their brand manager. Says since their first appearance at the London Toy Fair, we've been inundated with requests about the release of the figures, and we're delighted to confirm that they will be available in 2 formats: the exclusive bundle pack from Character Online and those individual packs with alternative decoration. At mass retail, both launching later this year. But you know, I think David Mullen's question of why aren't these in B&M is really the crux of the matter, Simon. And Sydney Rough Diamonds isn't a life jacket. They're for adult collectors. I'm doubtful if children will want them. They don't at the moment, but if you market this stuff properly, then children will want them, surely.
Yeah, I would have thought so. If you put them on the shelves of B&M, yes, they would generate some excitement, because look at the excitement that always comes from anything going into B&M, and people do go and hunt them down. And you put them in the right place on those shelves, and you market them, yes, as toys. Surely children would want them, but maybe children just aren't into Doctor Who at the moment, and that's the feeling that I think we're getting, and I think that's the feeling that's where the production team is pitching it. It's not being pitched at children, and so that's not the market they're chasing, and presumably that's not the market they're chasing with these figures either. But it just seems a shame. Just seems such a shame.
Richard Brooks suggests that they're an offline exclusive. Yeah, I mean, when I see pictures like this, I mean,
it's like VHS cassettes from the 80s, didn't it? That
yeah, it's all
cool packaging. It is cool packaging.
Yeah, it's clever and it's bespoke, but it does make it look like something that's very exclusive, very limited. And to see these words associated with this brand at this time, when it really does need to expand out and start reaching people, rather than be something that you could be afraid that if you open it, it's going to devalue in some way. I mean, here are the figures inside. They do come in blister packs inside. And I quite like the new livery of these. I mean, you could say it's a bit pink, but I think the illustration of the TARDIS is quite nice. And the logo really pops, which is really the most important thing with merchandise. You need to be able to recognise which brand you're looking for from half an aisle away. So I think these look pretty decent. And on the back, you've got some more details there, the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday. I'm still very curious, though, about why it's always the 15th Doctor, Anthony, and not just the Doctor. It shouldn't really be. All the publicity's like this, all the T-shirts, everything, the 15th Doctor.
Never
it should simply be the Doctor for the here and the now. Am I being too finicky about this?
Well, I have to say, I have to say, Dan, I've kind of lost the chronology of which Doctor is which Doctor now, because
we all have that.
Fair enough.
Before.
It shouldn't really matter which number he is to the kids. You know, for children just coming to it, if Shooty's their first Doctor, it's just the Doctor. I want the Doctor. Which figure do you want for Christmas? I want the Doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I don't think I've seen that labelled as such before. Is that a new thing? I don't know. Yeah, it should
it's
be just
new.
The Doctor. You're quite right.
I think with Jodie's Doctor, they did it a little there, but it's far more so now. And there's lots of these glamour shots, I suppose you could say, Jack. They've staged the figures here, so we can see every little detail of them. Like you're saying, I think the likenesses are quite good. They've certainly got Millie Gibson's eyebrow there. She's got the bit taken out of it. That's very cool.
Oh yeah.
Attention to detail. And
the detailing is fantastic on them. I have to say, it's superb. They're brilliant figures.
Because some of the cheaper ones that you get in the 3-packs, they have been sort of repaints of Primeval figures, stuff from other figure lines, or there's been a lot of variants where they've sort of repainted different things. This does look like it's a bit of a step up, and maybe they do have some aspirations for it. But yeah, I mean, it's the whole idea of it being exclusive that I can't get past. At the end of the day, where are the pictures? See, Jack, where are the pictures of the mass market ones?
Yeah, I know. Because that's
if there's going to be two, I can accept that. So where's the rest?
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's kind of like that's kind of where this announcement and that's kind of baffled me, to be honest, because with the stuff like with the sonic screwdrivers, we've had like a clear indication. Okay, this is what you get in. It's going to be available here. This is what you get in. It's releasing here. There you go. This is what it looks like. And if you want to get the retail version, it's going to be available at this date from these retailers. Which, by the way, I do actually have on me as well as a little
lovely looking insole, that, isn't it?
The little click remote.
So you're going to demonstrate it for us now, then, Jack?
Yeah, sure. So click this to activate it. Click this one to give it a little bit of a pop out.
Oh,
poke it out a little bit. And then you swirl this around, and voila! And then it lights up. And yeah, there's a little bit of a.
So, what does any idea what the bit at the top does, Jack?
See, I can't recall this being used in the show, to be honest.
It's a ring pull, surely. It's a ring pull.
Yeah,
open a bottle of bud, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Give it a try.
You know what? that's going to set a challenge. Mind you, if I try to open a bottle of beer with this, probably no more. I've got to break it. But
yeah, I'm yet to warm to this, Jack. But thank you very much for the demonstration. I mean, it's a very curious.
It's a very, very cool toy. There's no two ways about it, but it's just not a sonic screwdriver.
Oh, definitely not a screwdriver.
You know, it's an over-designed computer mouse, isn't it?
It's
to me,
a Disney toy, isn't it? You know,
I don't know, John. I don't know what it
Disney
is.
Yeah,
I just don't know what it is.
Like,
But I suppose, in all fairness, Anthony, just as Jack was saying, they have marketed this a lot better, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, Dan, I was going to agree with John. It looks like the bottom of my trainer.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks like a sort of like a running shoe from the face up. Dan, what I'm struggling with these collectible Doctor Who toys is that they're overpriced, and that the market for somebody that would want to perhaps play with that as Doctor Who, or as Ruby Sunday, to recreate the worlds of Doctor Who as I would have done in the 70s with little Palatoy, Tom Bakers and K9s.
Yeah,
this is not very marketable in that sense for the children. I just think it looks collectible. You keep it in a box. I'm amazed that Jack's taken his out of the box, but you keep it in the box and collect it. You know?
But where's the fun in that, Anthony? There's no fun in that, is there? I don't think.
There's no fun in that.
No.
You're absolutely right, Anthony, because remember what Russell T Davies said a few months back or during the series, and he said the reason Shooty's got so many outfits is so that any kid anywhere can be the Doctor, you know. And even though that he wears, even though Shooty wears designer clothes, that's by the by. The thing is, when Doctor Who came back, as you all know, they did those very cheap sonic screwdrivers that kids could get hold of, and they could play with. So Anthony's absolutely right. You know, if you had something like that, if kids were interested, they could get them, and then you had the collector's items you could get. Like I had the Millennium Effects ones years ago. You know, they did the Sonics, which were great, and the Mill and all of that. So, but they just don't do that now because, and I think going back to this standard retail edition, you'll only know about that and see pictures of it dependent on how these sales do. That's it.
I was about to say, I think they've done this online exclusive to be a tester for interest, honestly, because I don't think they're confident enough to do like a big bulk order of retail. I think they need to have a taste for the people that, because we said this before, there's a difference between the people who watch the show and then the people who watch the show and then go and buy attached merchandise. And it's not, you're not wrong for doing either, but it's just not every fan is going to go and in searching for the toys. That's just how it's always been. So I think they're nervous and they're seeing actually has there been enough of a connection, enough of sort of that I need to have it from that crew, from the crowd that do get the merchandise, and they're just waiting. And it feels like to me at the moment as well, just generally, it feels like back in 2005, there was a real thought and a real connection to whatever we're putting on screen. We need to have a toy. We need to have something that can get the kids interested afterwards, or the long-term fans. And now it's like there's no thought beyond just the show. It feels like for so many things, but definitely the toys, that they're not thinking, oh, right, we need to have sort of this ecosystem that's living around the show. And then the show needs to support
itself while the show's off air, and then you can ideally you want it so that children, it's not that they don't want to put the toy down, they can't bear to be parted from it. So they take it on holiday, they take it to their nans. If they're leaving for a couple of hours, they insist on taking it with them. You want it to become an accessory to a child's life, not something that a collector simply has to put on a shelf and occasionally move Shooty's arm in a different direction.
It's like Anthony said, as kids, that what you should be having is they watch it on a Saturday night, and then when it's off air, they make their own Doctor Who adventures. They play with the toys. They make their own stories, their own. I faced this monster in the back garden, and that's what I did at the weekend, sort of thing. And it used to support that, and it feels like that's completely been lost to me at the moment, and I'm hoping they get it back.
Dan, you're absolutely right. And Charlotte, I took my Palatoy Tom Baker figure with me everywhere, literally everywhere. And I was distraught, a distraught 5 and 6 year old, because I took this toy and I lost his shoe, his right shoe.
I had a similar experience.
And I was Tom Baker without one shoe. It was a devastating time. And I'm not entirely sure whether if a child had bought this and lost the landmine or the sonic screwdriver, how devastated they might be. Because I certainly was devastated.
Well,
so
these are the accessories.
Accessories.
You're quite right. Or each of these comes with some accessories in the pack. The Doctor comes with the sonic screwdriver, as demonstrated by our Jack there. The psychic paper, which is a first for this, apparently being as part of a figure set. So a few people in the live chat are quite happy about that. So that's in there, and the landmine is there too from Boom. So probably the most memorable for the right reasons episode of the last season. I think it's quite a nice touch that's in there, whereas the Ruby Sunday figure comes with her sort of handbag and what would you call it? Is it a handbag? Is that on the strap? I'm just going to call it a handbag. That comes with a handbag and a modern, just everyday smartphone that matches her sweater. So I think that's quite nicely considered.
Yeah.
It's just a bit boring though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the truth of it is, it's all. I would agree, Dan. I think it's nicely considered, and so the detail there. I love the way that the belt is just hanging down from what's her name? I can't even remember. What is her name? Ruby. There we go. Thank you.
And if you buy, like the 70s and 80s, the caps for cap guns, you can put that on the landmine as well and actually make it explode.
Oh dear. Not too many people are interested in the live chat here, I have to say. And some think the likenesses are not as good as they could be. Matt Potts says the boxes are ugly too. They could be difficult to store for a collector, I think, with those edges. Yeah. Daryl Joyce suggests that different outfits isn't going to appeal as much as simply making different monsters and things like that.
Ooh, yeah, good point, Daryl.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to give the monsters different outfits of the week as well, aren't they? Probably in season 2. So.
Simon Ashley says, I don't know. I'm debating whether I will purchase this set or not. There are people in the chat have said usually I'd buy one of every Doctor. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's a new Doctor, a new era. I kind of want it. But I hate to say this, as with so many things as a collector, the Whittaker era and her take on that character and the whole culture around the show there, it broke my compulsion to do that. All those habits, all those traditions, Simon. And that's not my fault. It's not because I'm a bigot. I am a bigot, but no, it's not because I'm a bigot. It's them. They disenfranchise me. So it's not, it's nothing. I don't take any pleasure in that. I wanted to be reached by it, and they're just going to have a hard time getting me back, particularly with this kind of bait. I have got collectible stuff, but I don't go for the collector stuff. The thing that actually compels me to buy, Jack, more often than not, is the stuff that I see in the supermarkets, because I feel the stuff that's more everyday, the stuff that that the boys and girls will have wanted for Christmas, that I would have wanted, that my kids would have wanted. That's the kind of things that I want in my life. It's a slightly different market.
Yeah, there is as well. And to be honest, I think the phrase as well, online exclusive. I mean, yeah, they sell out, but you don't know how many of these things are actually being made. And I mean,
I hadn't thought about that.
I think there's only a couple that I can think. Actually, no, maybe a few of the classic Who ranges that were online exclusive, where it's like, I don't know, for example, Patrick Troughton with the TARDIS as like a duo pack. I think it was from the Web of Fear.
That was lovely.
Proper fur coat, yeah. That sold out. I believe one of the Peter Davison and the TARDIS, and I think one from the Happiness Patrol as well was sold as an exclusive. they all sell out because, you know, let's be honest, you want to get the Doctor and the TARDIS, and it's from, like, you know, more well-known and well-received eras of the show. Whereas, like, you know, when they're throwing together online exclusives like a 3-pack of Sea Devils, or, you know, for example, the Fugitive Doctor, which, you know, isn't liked by, you know, many Doctor Who fans, they're not going to sell out. And you can even still get those on the website, despite them being marketed as exclusives and being limited editions. So I think, yeah, that whole phrasing is a bit stupid, in my opinion. And I just think, personally, they should just put them straight in the shops, make them more accessible. And to be honest, hopefully that would lower the cost, to be fair.
Yeah, I think that despite even a collector's figure set shouldn't really cost any more than £22, £23. It's absolutely not for Richard Brooks. Del Lynn says, "Are all the Disney shops closed?" I believe they are. Yeah, I believe so. But I don't know that they'd never have an exclusive deal on something like this. It's just too big a potential brand in Britain. Simon Ashley says the figures could do with being a bit cheaper. Undoubtedly. Stephen Braddock says that Shooty's figure looks more animated than the real thing. You know what? In all fairness, one thing I must say for Shooty's Doctor, he is very animated. I think that's part of the problem. Bedwig Gulledge is in the live chat. Hello, Bedwig. We've got lots of mutual friends. The money I saved not buying these figures has been spent on Blake's 7 videotapes. You have to tell us some more about that, Bedwig.
Videotapes? Wow.
And I thought that I was caught in a bit of a time vortex. Simon, good to see you, Bedwig. Get in touch with us. We'll have a chat at some point. Mass market merch for a non-mass audience, says Lee Smith. I'd like to think this is going to get us somewhere, because I do want this range to succeed. I want Doctor Who figures not just back on the shelves, but back in the hands of ideally children. I want this show to matter to kids again. Yeah, the content hasn't been getting there, but a good, robust campaign like this could actually help the series if they think it through properly. I can see why it'd be a chicken and egg thing. Where's the Meep? Where's the Wrath Warrior? Where's the great big dog Sutek? That we take the piss out of it we take the piss out of it every week, but it was memorable as part of a big play set or something. That could probably work. I don't know if there was any kids actually watching the show that might latch onto it. I don't know. It's just a little too late. But please let us know if you disagree in the live chat about these shiny lumps of plastic. Matthew Pounder. Lee Smith says it looks like the Star Wars prequels to me. I know. I really want this range to succeed, Simon. I want it to matter to people again. It's just a little bit too late.
I'm chortling about Darren Bradley's comment that the Doctor comes with tiny tears action, and they have kind of missed a bit of a trick with that.
Yeah, we've had several comments.
Fill the Doctor up with water and press his back, and tears come out. You know, they have missed a trick.
And allow him to speak as well. You know, press the button on the back.
We've had several comments along those lines. I'm afraid it's the gift that keeps on giving. As long as Shooty keeps on crying, it's going to keep coming around, doesn't it? Does it have an air thrust button? Asks Matthew Pounder. You talk about the Sonic or the figures? I think Shooty's probably got an air thrust button, but I wouldn't ask where it is. Hello all, says Domgo in the live chat.
Hello, Domgo.
And he suggests that no one is ever going to buy that stuff. Well, I don't know. I think there is a collector's market for it. Let's be fair, there is. But the collector's market is not going to revive this brand. It's not going to help Character Options out in the long run. And I think Character Options is one of the most valued of licensees, if not the most valued licensee with the Doctor Who brand at the moment. It doesn't mean they should be making errors like this, because this range could really unlock a new generation of Doctor Who fans if it was pitched properly. The producers of these toys have to demand that they can produce more classic Doctor Who than the New Order. They do put out a lot of classic Doctor Who figures. I think it's fair to say, isn't it, Anthony? You got that range of Daleks. There's one of those every 4 months or so. So they're doing the classic series proud.
Yeah, I mean the classic series through character options certainly get a look in. Like Jack mentioned, there was the Silurian pack that came out very recently, so they do get their opportunity to go back and revisit the classics. But I feel as though, Dan, you put your finger on the button when you were saying you want to walk into a shop and be able to see these things. And we know that Doctor Who was at its most popular when you could go into the shops and buy these things.
Yeah.
So there's always been dips in Doctor Who's, perceived popularity, but also dips in merchandise to kind of mirror that. And I feel as though we've jumped from, that image that you're showing, where Doctor Who was very successful and there was merchandise everywhere. This could be mirrored when Tom Baker was being Doctor Who. There was merchandise everywhere. And now we've gone to limited edition collectible items, which seem to be geared to a fan audience and a collectible audience, and people that want to have, if they've got that Sonic, they'll have all the other Sonics, and I include myself in that. But it's not about going into the shops and being able to see these things. I would look forward to seeing a Shooty or a Ruby Sunday figure in the shops, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think there was the amount of conversation or groundswell of chat around this program or this new series that was going to generate that. And I think Charlotte's point about recreating Doctor Who in your garden, you've got the Doctor and you've got Ruby as a figure. If you're really going for mass market appeal, where's the monsters to fight to? There aren't any. So it already is a collectible thing rather than a mass market thing for them.
Well, it doesn't say in the publicity at any point, this is heralding an exciting new line, which will include this and that. It's all very much about the past, and add this to what you've already got, rather than this is getting on the ground floor with something that's going to matter. If you miss out on this, you're going to regret it later. There's, in my view, there's no appeal to that kind of FOMO, what they call FOMO now.
Thing is, Dan, the other thing I would say, in playing devil's advocate on this as well, is you don't know whether actually character options want to put it out, but as a license agreement, they're told you've got to do these because Marvel's a classic example at the moment. There's toy developers, and it's been well reported that they can't sell Marvel products, but they're being forced to sell them because they signed a deal. So they're effectively making them knowing that they're going to run at a loss. So maybe that's why they've done it as an exclusive, because they want to see how they do before they shepherd it out to the general public. So that could also be part of it potentially, because if they want to keep the deal.
Yeah, I just find it interesting that throughout Series 1, the creature issue got brought up by fans. Why have we not had scary monsters?
Yeah,
Where's
that's true.
the sort of, wow, that creeped me out, or that was interesting sort of comments about the creatures? And then eventually Russell even admitted in one of his columns, I think, that, there's going to be more aliens in the second series. So it's like, so now you've realised that you need creatures. You need aliens. In your
I doubt
show.
if there's going to be much market for an action figure of the old bat from 42 yards, 43 yards.
That's where I think harsh on that. I think a kid would go wild to be able to play with Shooty, Ruby, and Jinx Monsoon dancing to a song together in their hands in the lounge on a Saturday morning. Of course, kids would love it.
We're going to have to leave that one there for now. But yeah, that's the. It's like the Vortex Collector's Edition. Doctor Who said it's going to be available from next Thursday at the Character Options website only, everybody. So yeah, take your chances there. You may want to take the day off work to see if you can phone and get through, or keep hitting refresh on the website. I don't know. If you really want to get that in your life, that's how you're going to find it. And if you are lucky enough to snag one of these online exclusive limited editions, let us know here at Type 40 Live, across Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too. Drop us a comment and send us a picture. And yeah, that's what we do. I think that's what Doctor Who's fans do when we get some of this stuff. We have to tell somebody. You can come and tell us if you like. And whilst you're here, yes, please check out our playlists as well, including our recent shows this year on these two most wanted Doctor Who reviews from the classic series. We looked at the Robots of Death in great detail, all in tribute to the late Pamela Salem there, who passed away earlier on in 2024. And then we visited the new series as well, didn't we, to look at School Reunion a few weeks ago. That was a lot of fun. And when it's never going to get old, is it, talking about Elizabeth Slade and Simon? We had a good 2 or 3 hours there, didn't we? Reliving that 2006 classic back when the figure range was really starting to fill up toy chests and toy drawers all over Britain.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody was in love with Doctor Who at that point. Really,
multiple.
Really. That was its imperial phase, without any doubt at all. Mm-hmm.
Multiple Sonics and Canines in the average UK home. Check out the podcasts, of course, across all major podcatchers and our home feed, type40.podbean.com. There's a lot more to talk about, but we're going to leave Shooty there for now. Yeah, I give that one a little while. We'll see where it lands. Well, as always, whenever.
Hello, my name is Ian Levine, and I'm proud that you're listening and watching the Doctor Who Type 40 podcast here on YouTube.
The man
warped out of existence by the looks of it. He's been beamed up to the mothership.
Oh, that's clever.
There he is.
That's the water refill.
That was
not live. It's fine.
You appeared like the shopkeeper in Mr. Ben just then
in a new outfit.
Yes, and thank you everybody for all the comments there about the Doctor Who action figures that are coming soon. Eventually, we've got lots more to talk about and discuss here. But all the shiny bits of plastic, Simon and Sonic screwdrivers, where bits flip up and flip down and across and around. You could say that there are simpler pleasures, aren't there? There's a lot more to be found within the pages of a good book, for example.
Spot on. Which could it be? Which could it be?
Unfortunately, we don't just have a good book here at Type 40 Live. We have a great one, the greatest of all, you may say. It's the Doctor Who Diary. Of course it is. Ooh.
Yes, indeed. Here we go with another diary. And for newbies here who've never seen this before, this is the slot where we basically look back at what was happening this week in years gone by over the past 60 odd years. Some of you might remember exactly 9 years ago, 2015, today was before the flood. Anybody remember that one? It really didn't work for me before the flood.
I never took to that.
Just didn't work for me, but that was what you would have been watching today, back in 2015. Much further back, right back to 1965. You'd have been watching Mission to the Unknown, which of course was the episode that kicked off the massive 12-part The Daleks Master Plan. But you had to wait another 4 weeks because you've got to get through the Mythmakers before you got it, bizarrely. And in 1966, you'd have been tuning into the very first episode of The 10th Planet, when we were about to say farewell to the first Doctor, William Hartnell.
The big bill.
1989, Ghostlight was right in the middle of its run. Made no sense whatsoever, but it did it beautifully. And I still love just watching it. You just give into it and you watch it. And it's perfect for this time of year. October is the perfect time to be watching it.
35 years, wow.
Yeah, incredibly. Couple of birthdays that we just haven't got time to talk about. Stephen Gallagher is 70. Happy birthday, Stephen. Brian Blessed is 88, believe it or not. Nicola Bryant, 64. Fiona Cumming would have been 87. Nicholas Parsons would have been 101. But none of these people we have time to talk about. Sadly, we don't have time to talk about Barry Letts either, who died this week. Sadly, he left the planet in 2009, sadly. Dear old Barry Letts. So what are we talking this week on the diary? I hear you ask. Well, we've got a strange old diary this week because we're going back to 1964, exactly 60 years ago to 1964. And actually, this moments, this week sort of falls midway between the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. So there's no Doctor Who on television this week in 1964. So what can we be talking about? There we go. On the 12th of September, you'd had the end of the Reign of Terror. Reign of Terror had just finished with the Prisoners of Conciergerie on the 12th of September, and you'd got about another month to wait before Planet of Giants kicked off season 2. Now, what's actually interesting about this period in history is this is the first time ever that we actually start to talk about seasons of Doctor Who. Because Doctor Who had originally been scheduled to run for a full 52 weeks of the year. That was the original plan. But in May of 1964, the drama department heads Donald Wilson and Sidney Newman had realised Doctor Who is doing pretty well. And so actually, we think Doctor Who could run and run for more than 1 year. Can you imagine that? But that was the thought, that they thought, yeah, this could run and run. So they kind of figured, okay, we can't have it for 52 weeks of the year, so we're going to have to factor in a bit of a holiday, a bit of a gap. And so that was what happened here. This was the gap that they factored in. Now, originally, season 1, as it would become known, would have ended with the Censorites, and it would have kicked off again in the middle of September. But there was a problem because of the last night of the proms that was happening, so they couldn't put Doctor Who on that night. And scheduling, even 60 years ago, was as complicated then as it is today.
When the channel was only on for a fraction of the time, like TV was only on from about 3 in the afternoon through to about 10, 11 at night.
Absolutely. So as a result, they had to change it all. It all got changed. And so they brought the Reign of Terror forward to the end of season 1. But it still wasn't known as season 1 at that point. That was just the end of that particular run. But it was named as season 2 because when they announced that, okay, we are now season 2 will kick off with Planet of Giants towards the end of October, and that's exactly what happened. So they announced that Planet of Giants was the start of season 2, and that's the first time ever that we actually got to talk about seasons in Doctor Who, and it's been the same ever since. That's why we have seasons.
Because it is unusual, isn't it? It is unusual that word season in regard to a specific series when it comes to British TV. Seasons were always literally the start of a new calendar season, wasn't it? So on the front of the radio or TV Times, it's the new season, and it'd be about a whole array of programs that were going to be screened over a 2-3 month period, not one specific thing.
And that's what happened with Planet of Giants. It was signposted as the spearhead for the autumn schedule, which and of course this has happened then throughout Doctor Who's history, that Doctor Who is always there at the spearhead of the new autumn season. Anthony, I'm sure you will remember getting those really exciting trailers on BBC One, normally about a month, maybe beginning of September, when they say the new season on BBC One. Do you remember those?
Yeah, absolutely, Simon, I do. And it's kind of given me a rush of nostalgia, because the first thing that comes into my head is the season 17 trailer, which sort of things from nowhere, Tom Baker talking directly to the camera and not being woken up until September. It feels right. I got a rush of nostalgia.
That's right.
And I just stumbled across that.
It was thrilling, and of course we never knew that these things were going to happen back in those days. Of course, before the internet, Jack. Can you imagine a time before the internet? But there was one. And so you didn't know. You had no idea. You just you had to be tuned into BBC One, lucky enough to see when the new season trailer would be broadcast. And I think, Anthony, I'm right in saying that season 17 trailer, which was shot on the set of Creature from the Pit, I think it was only screened once. I think it literally was screened once, and I was there. I saw it like you,
and I saw it too. How did that happen?
They were exciting days. They were exciting days. Back in
millions of people glued to the screen.
Back in 1964, there was also a possible planned break for after the Dalek invasion of Earth, because when season 2 kicked off, it started with Planet of Giants, as I say, towards the end of October. Then it went straight into the Dalek invasion of Earth when, of course, Susan left. Sorry if anybody out there hasn't seen the Dalek invasion of Earth and I've just ruined it for you. But there was going to be a possible break then as well, because get this, even back then they were thinking about, were they going to have to do some recasting of the main cast? Would Barbara and Ian also be leaving? Would they even have to recast the Doctor? Because at that point, obviously the show had been on for a year, near as damn it at that point, and people were getting very, very tired. And William Hartnell was not well really right the way through his run. And so it's incredible to think that they were even thinking of possibly changing the role of the Doctor even as early as 1 year into the run. Anyway, as I say, in July of 1964, Donald Wilson claimed that Doctor Who, this is a quote, may well continue indefinitely on its continued success. So, it is quite bizarre to think we're now looking back exactly 60 years ago, and they knew then that they were onto a bit of a surefire hit with this one. And the other thing, there's a couple of other things that sort of happened in this break, in this 6 week. I think it was about a 5 or 6 week break. And the first thing to happen was in last week in 1964, the Dalek book was published. Now the Dalek book. Here we go. This is the Dalek book. This is the original 1964 Dalek book. Have you got one of these, Anthony?
I have.
There we go.
Mine broke.
Incredible.
I'm very lucky to have this one in absolutely mint
It looks
condition.
beautiful.
It is mint condition. I haven't even got fortunately the crossword isn't even filled out on this one. It's absolutely mint condition, and this was released last week in 1964. So as I say, we're talking earlier about merchandise for Christmas, and absolutely this was what this was marketed for. Clearly, they knew the Daleks were coming back because the Dalek invasion of Earth was all ready to go, and that they knew that the Daleks had already been a massive success. And so I
don't own this. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it actually in the wild, like in real life.
When you're around at my place next time, Dan, if you ask very, very nice,
please
bring me a nice box of chocolates. I will let you touch my copy.
Has it got a dust jacket, or does it?
No, it doesn't have a dust jacket. No, it doesn't have a dust jacket. What's happened over time? Sadly, it's sort of you probably can't make it out there, but it's all sort of you can't sort of see. But in the light, you can't see. But it has all wrinkled. The cover is sort of rather wrinkled.
I like it when they go like that, I have to say.
Yeah, but it is a fantastic book, and it's a great read. Written, of course, by Terry Nation and David Whittaker. Probably more by David Whittaker than Terry Nation. So that was released in this 6 week gap. And the other thing that happened.
That's the series and TV show I wanted as a kid.
I mean, this is what you want, isn't it?
I was going to say, John and Simon, that I agree. The imagery on the front of that book is incredible for a young child.
Beautiful,
that makes you want to watch that program, doesn't it? Dinosaurs, Daleks, soldiers in the corner there.
Laser guns.
It's world building every square centimetre of this artwork.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I treasured mine, and then one day I went to get it, and it had literally just broken in half. And obviously it was a very emotional day. I'm slowly getting over it 20 years later, but
what was
don't push me.
Was it a burial at sea, John?
It was a mass pulping, yeah.
Oh, that's lovely, says Vanessa. She's so jealous. 9 Inch Neils is really Neil. You've come to the right place, pal. 9 Inch Neils says, first time viewer, really enjoying this show. Well, stick around, mate. Stick around.
And I've got to just show you this. Well, welcome 9 Inch Nails. It's lovely to have you here. I've got to just show you this, which is, look at this. Who didn't want this? Which was the anatomy of the Dalek. Look at that. That was the first ever cutaway that you got showing a Dalek fully annotated as what was going on inside. The mutant is sort of just hiding up there. If you can just about make out the mutant. Yeah. It's just a magnificent book. Beautiful book. This is what people wanted.
It just showed, though, how intimately they knew the Daleks, even at that point also.
Yeah.
It's not like they've been around for a couple of years, which is
one story, Charlotte.
usually get a creature that hits or something, and then in a couple of years you get like the big book, and within one story, like you've just said, they can do that picture. They
One
can
story.
in detail go, look, this is all the bits of it. This is the world.
Yes.
And it just
and of
shows
course,
just how forward thinking, like in the good way.
yeah,
And
absolutely. And
Re-release that in the to the general public. That will start getting interest in Doctor Who again.
one of the things I absolutely love again is this. This is the map of Skaro. You know, here is the map of Skaro that they drew up. The dalography of Skaro. Planet
What's that?
Darren. We've got Darren.
Darren, and there's one called Davies. Is that Russell T? He's got his own.
Well, actually, yeah, it is quite a sort of, yeah,
Oh,
there's a little bit like
Davies.
Russell T in there, actually. It has to be said.
The swamp of
close.
Cutie.
Simon, as you've got the book still in your hand, there's some Doctor Who gold in that book
Yeah.
you haven't shown us yet, which is
Go
the
on.
black and white photographs. Find the black and white photographs from the Daleks.
Bear with, I'm going past the Dodge the Dalek game. Who doesn't want to dodge the Dalek game? I mean,
I insist on it.
There's
There's some black and white photographs in there from the Daleks.
There's some. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
So photographs that were unseen and unavailable anywhere else. Is that right?
Unavailable at that point. These wouldn't have been seen anywhere if you hadn't been watching the. You know, this was a brilliant way to basically recreate the entire
To chronicle the story
of the Dalek, the first Dalek story that you're just talking about there, Charlotte.
Oh, I love the
literally-
panoramic ones as well.
Yeah, literally, they give you the full rundown of the entire Dalek story.
That piece of television over that 7 weeks must have made such a huge impact for them to do that.
Yeah, it's a massive impact. And what we've got to remember, of course, putting this in context, is that this book heralded what was going to become the Dalek Christmas. 1964 was the Dalek Christmas, because that was when I don't think there was a kid in the UK that didn't have a Dalek of some sort to open on Christmas morning in Christmas of 1964, because as I say, this book kicked it all off, and before you knew it, Woolworths was just full of Rolykin Daleks and Louis Marks Daleks and Bump and Go Daleks, you name it. The world went Dalek mad in Christmas 1964. So that was it. That was it.
Thanks for that. Another piece of merchandise I'm probably never going to get.
There you go. I say, you can ask me nicely and you can have a look next time.
You can
Will I be able to touch it?
You can touch it. Well, it depends
Can
on
I
what
sniff
sort of
the
a mood I'm
pages?
in.
Can I sniff the end papers?
You can look at it through the glass wall.
Yes. Yeah, I'll wave it through the window at you.
It's in
Now, the
Lichfield Cathedral.
other little piece of merchandise that was released just at the very, very end of this 6-week break. And let's put this in context. It is a 6-week break. We're used now to Doctor Who having like a 9-10 month break. This was a 6-week break that people got in this break, in this little holiday. And at the very, very end of it, TV Comic published the very, very first ever Doctor Who comic strip. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, that actually is episode 2. Episode 2 is far more spectacular than episode 1 because it was all in colour, whereas episode 1 was white. But you can see there on the front cover of TV Comics Starts Today Doctor Who, that even got almost the right logo really there that was used on the TV at that point. And this
those colours.
Isn't it fantastic? This is.
I'm afraid I have to stop this just to get my Popeye impression in. Gag, 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 gag. So go on, as you were, carry on.
That's just slightly weird. Do you do an olive oil as well, or no? Actually, I'm not going to ask.
Not yet, but maybe at the close. Yeah.
Work on olive oil.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
this is the Klepton Parasites, which is a thrilling adventure between the Thanes and the Kleptons, as you probably guessed. The Kleptons are using an evil, ever-spreading plant to destroy the Thane city. It's a little bit like the actual first Dalek serial, to be honest. It's got
The
sort of
sods.
yeah,
Look at that.
yeah. Oh, aren't they evil beings? And there is Gillian, poor old Gillian, being sucked up into some dastardly Klepton spaceship with John watching her being yanked away. And there is Doctor Who just on the right of the frame there.
With the TARDIS doors that open out.
Absolutely.
Oh, wherever next.
And
This is their grandfather. This is John and Gillian, of course, were Doctor. There we go, Doctor Who's grandchildren. So
I
this is
love these strips.
Yeah. I mean, this is almost sort of like the first Dalek movie with Peter Cushing in it. They're calling him Doctor Who and grandfather, and it's good stuff. And so these are the kleptomaniacs. That's what these are. Matthew Pounder. They are the kleptomaniacs, and there is John and Gillian bursting into the TARDIS. That's at the very, very beginning of episode 1 of the Klepton Parasites, which, as I say, was released back in this month in 1964, just at the beginning of November, actually, if we're being totally
I have, even though I'd love a set of these, and I do wish they'd sort of reprint them now in proper full colour volumes, ideally hardback. I'd love all of these, but thank heaven that Marvel UK reprinted a lot of these strips as part of Classic Comics in the early 90s, because I got to enjoy these when I was still relatively young enough, if not the exact target audience. I mean, so just seeing them again now, 30 odd years on, they're just magic, all these stories are.
And the thing that we've got to remember is that from this point on, there's never really not been a Doctor Who strip. I know that the monthly magazine dropped it for a while, and the weekly even dropped it for a little while, but really this was the start of the Doctor Who strip, and it's never, as I say, it has been dropped, but not really. Not. It's only been dropped for sort of budgetary reasons, so on and so forth. It's never really been intentionally dropped. Literally since 1964, since this edition of TV Comic back in 1964, that, as I say, was published just at the end of this gap that we're talking about between season 1 and season 2. Pat Goodall of Malden in Essex this week in 1964 had a wonderful poem printed in Radio Times. And I've got Doctor Who magazine to thank for this. Doctor Who magazine very kindly printed this recently, so I've got them to salute and thank you for bringing this to our attention. Pat Goodall, as I say, this week, literally in 1964, on Saturday actually, she wrote, "Whatever has happened to Doctor Who, wherever has he gone? Has he landed on BBC 2 instead of BBC 1? On the 12th of September, we saw him last. The TARDIS was going strong. Are he and his friends to remain in the past? Please tell us it won't be for long." Bless her. Pat Goodall, we salute you wherever you are, Pat Goodall of Malden in Essex. That was published in Radio Times, as I say, on Saturday in 1964.
They used to do a lot of poetry in the Radio Times, didn't they? Poetry and crosswords and all that kind of thing.
And of course, it just goes to show people genuinely did not know that Doctor Who was coming back. At that point, they had no idea. It could have been gone forever. Nobody remembered to tell the people, don't worry, Doctor Who is coming back. So there's one final thing that we get to talk about in this particular period in 1964, and it's a weird one. It's a very, very weird one. On the 12th of October 1964, so again on Saturday in 1964, exactly 60 years ago, Desert Island Discs featured the one and only. Can anybody guess who Desert Island Discs would have been featuring this week in 1964? And I can guarantee nobody will get it. If anybody can manage to get it in the chat in the next 10 seconds before I tell you.
Hartnell.
You would think so. Of course, that would be the first assumption, that it would be Hartnell. No. Any more advances on Hartnell before I'm going to do countdown and ding you out?
Let's have a look in the live chat, see if anybody's going to get it.
No, everybody's going for Hartnell. Quite right. Of course you go for Hartnell.
Verity?
No.
Verity?
Yeah, a good guess again, Charlotte. You would guess that. No. The person.
Alan.
Cushing. Peter Harrington. Brilliant guess. Peter Cushing.
Terry Nation.
Brilliant guess. Close, but no cigar. No.
Someone has got it. Well done to Vanessa Law.
Oh, Vanessa Law has got it. Well done, Vanessa. John Pertwee. There he is. John Pertwee, of course, in his pre-Doctor Who days. Doctor Who was not even a glimmer in his eye at this point. But yes, on Saturday, back in 1964, exactly 60 years ago, John Pertwee appeared with host, of course, Roy Plomley on his. There is the wonderful Roy on his desert island, and chose his favourite tracks, his favourite books, and talked about them at great length. we've tried and we can't find this edition of Desert Island Discs. I suspect it no longer exists, sadly. It's certainly not on YouTube. If anybody does know where it is out there and has a copy, please let us know, because we'd love to sort of share it with people. But we couldn't find it. His favourite book, the book that John Pertwee was going to take on his desert island, I don't even know where to start with this, was The Culture of the Abdomen, A Cure of Obesity and Constipation by F.A. Hornibrook. Of course it was. Who wants The Lord of the Rings? Who wants War and Peace? Nobody. Of course you want The Culture of the Abdomen, A Cure of Obesity and Constipation. Couldn't make it up. His favourite track, oh, there we go. There it is. So it does exist. We're not making this stuff up. This really is true. It really
and there's Doctor Who back. There's John Pertwee. Sorry, back in his pre-Doctor Who days on 6.5 special there.
When that's really interesting. When was he on 6.5 special then?
In the late 50s.
Wow. And I wonder what he's singing there.
I think we'll never know. He looks like he's whistling, doesn't he?
That's mouth-watering, isn't it? What on earth was he singing there? And he looks so young in that, because we're so used to seeing him with grey hair. You rarely see photos of him with dark hair. His favourite track was "Georgia on My Mind" by the great Ray Charles. That was his very favourite track that he was going to take to his desert island. He also chose there we are, "Georgia on My Mind," and the brilliant John Pertwee there on the right hand side clowning around as
Ray Charles was a megastar, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, absolutely huge, huge
recording artist.
Yeah, and I know the track "Georgia on My Mind." It's not sadly on my iPod, but I know of it. He also chose 2 tracks by Mozart, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce, but they were from The Marriage of Figaro and The Magic Flute. He's a classy bloke, this John Pertwee. I tell you, he's a classy bloke. Also chose a track by Lonnie Donegan, "Love Is Strange." John Lee Hooker, yeah. Dimples, yes, of course. Who hasn't got a copy of Dimples by John Lee Hooker? Miriam Makeba there. Suliram. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. It was an Indonesian lullaby. So as I say, he had a really eclectic choice of tracks here. He also chose Charlie Chaplin, a song by Charlie Chaplin, the Spring song from the film King in New York, and it doesn't get much more highbrow than this. He chose Multos Anos by the choir, and I've probably pronounced that wrong, by the choir of the Russian Church of the Metropolitan of Paris. What can you say?
What can you say? I know where I am with John Lee Hooker and with Ray Charles, but
do you not have anything by the Church of the choir of the Russian Church of the Metropolitan of Paris, Dan?
Not off the top of my head, mate. No.
It does make you think what Sean grew up listening to with his dad. Like if that was his dad's choices in music.
Absolutely. Weird stuff. I have a feeling, when was Sean born? Because it was around about this time, wasn't it? I think Sean
was actually born, you're going to love this, in 1964. Here he is.
There you go.
And I didn't say earlier that knowing those pictures, folks. That was not planned.
He was born earlier on in the March of 1964.
Oh, wow. So he was around about 6 months old at this point by the time that his dad is appearing on Desert Island Discs, and there he is, the little cheeky chappy on in the middle there. In case you hadn't quite worked it out, I think that's him in the middle. And I love that picture of him holding the 1974 annual. He just looks so cool in that. Just brilliant. So 1964 was quite a year for John Pertwee, and as I say, yeah, here he was on Desert Island Discs. Coming up from John Pertwee was an absolute classic, Carry On Cleo, released in the December of 1964. It had already been filmed in the August. There he is. You've seen this one, haven't you, Anthony? You must love this one.
Oh, sure. It's a great photograph, isn't it? Look at Charles Hawkes in there as well. Amazing.
And he's only in it for about 1 minute, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
2 or 3 scenes. He does 3 or 4 of these films, doesn't he? Around the same period of time.
Yeah, because again he's in for about 1 minute in Carry On Screaming, and I think his largest role was in Carry On Cowboy.
And in Carry On. And I was going to say, Simon, in Carry On Columbus, again, just one scene. So at the end of the Carry On run, he's in it very. Yeah,
I'd completely forgotten about that, Anthony. You're right.
I think he's with June. I think he's with June Whitfield.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I mean, unfortunately, again with Carry On Columbus, I think most of us have sort of blocked it from from our memories. But this is a beautiful scene. And if there's any, Jack, have you seen Carry On Cleo yet?
No, I haven't seen Carry On Cleo. No.
Have you, Charlotte?
No, I'm not. I've seen some carry-ons, not all of them.
Not honestly, it's worth watching. You probably find this scene on YouTube, and it's worth watching purely for this scene. It's just the most brilliant.
Carry On films get a bit of a bad rap now because of some of the more bawdy aspects of it.
Yeah.
But this is probably one of the films that's aged the best, simply because it's so well written.
Yes, it's brilliantly written and brilliantly performed. And as I say, John Pertwee's scene is just comedy gold. And yes, this was going to be due to be released in December of this year, back in 1964. As he'd already shot it when he was doing Desert Island Discs. But what I feel sure you're wondering, what exactly was John Pertwee doing this very week in 1964? All can be revealed because he was on stage at the Strand Theatre, along with Frankie Howerd, in A Funny Thing Happened on the way to the Forum. You knew that, didn't you, Anthony? You knew that.
As soon as you started saying the title, I thought, oh, now I'm getting it.
Of course, it makes sense, doesn't it? Of course he was. He was playing Marcus Lycus. There he is. You can just about make him out on the very top right of that picture, pulling a typical John Pertwee face, playing Marcus Lycus in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. There is Kenneth Connor at the bottom of the picture, of course, again famous from lots and lots of Carry On films, and the great Frankie Howerd top left there. And yeah, this was playing at the Strand Theatre for quite a run. John Pertwee was in this for quite a run back in 1964. There he is in the programme, of course, again, dark hair, pre-Doctor Who days. It's really weird to see this in his little biog, of course. Can make no mention of Doctor Who because it's as I say, it's not even a twinkle in his eye at this point. We haven't even got into Patrick Troughton, let alone to John Pertwee. So it's really weird to see
a Carry On connection or two as well with both Kenneth and Frankie Howerd. Kenneth Connor was one of my favourite actors for years. I always imagined that he would make a great Doctor and thought that he may play it a little like Sylvester did.
Yeah, you wonder why he didn't. It's a shame, isn't it, that like Peter Butterworth ended up in the Meddling Monk. Actually, before he did Carry On, he was in the Meddling Monk. And Kenneth Connor never made the transition into Doctor Who. What a tragedy! Can you imagine him as a mischievous villain? He would have been brilliant. But there we go. As to say, happy 60th birthday there, and there he is. There's John Pertwee again. Unmistakably John Pertwee. That's almost a Wurzel Gummidge face that he's pulling there in that particular picture. So this is from the programme from the Strand Theatre for A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Of course, he went on to appear in the film as well some years later with Michael Crawford. He went on to appear in the film, but in a different role. He played a different role to the role that he played on the stage. But as I say, Marcus Lycus is the role he was playing this week back in 1964. There was a lot happening in
deep cut, Simon. It really is. I mean, I'd never even seen these images before, let alone knew what John Pertwee was doing all those. Was it 6 years before he was on screen as the Doctor?
Yeah, full 6 years. A full 6 years over, in fact. Amazing.
Domgo suggests that John Pertwee is one of those people that always looks older than he actually was. Is that true, John?
Not for me. I mean, I think it's just because my dad's always used to show me pictures from when he did the Navy Lark.
Oh, bless him.
And I always used to see it, and I was like, oh, blimey, he is really young. So I have seen younger Pertwee in images since I was a kid, really. But
of course, the thing to remember, John, is back in those days, he was mostly known as a voice artist. And so his face wasn't very familiar. Simple as that.
Absolutely. And just going back to that image you put up a few minutes ago with Sean Pertwee in there, I really want Sean Pertwee as a future Doctor. I don't want him imitating his dad in the third Doctor. I want him as a new Doctor. Sean Pertwee
I would agree.
Is very good as a Doctor.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I think the thing is with Pertwee, and I think Sean shares this like trait, which would make sense. they both have quite a sharpness about their look.
Yeah.
So I think that it just makes them look a little bit older to me. Like, even when I do see John in his younger years, to me, the face hasn't changed a lot. So I just see the more sort of sharp nose, those sort of features, which sort of gives them that slightly more, I think in a good way, that slightly more sort of wisdom look about them.
Yes.
He's a fabulous actor in his own right, Sean Pertwee, probably one of Britain's best, most underrated character actors in the here and now. I feel he does have fun with the legacy of Doctor Who. He takes the odd selfie, such as this one, in his father's cloak there and wearing the signature ring. That's probably a conversation for another time. But the legacy very much continues with Sean Pertwee.
Yeah, absolutely. And there, of course, John Pertwee, and I absolutely grew up with John Pertwee. I've always said Tom Baker is my doctor, which is true. But my earliest memories of John Pertwee, and I remember a very, very large chunk of the Pertwee years. I've got John Pertwee to thank for my love of Doctor Who. It's as simple as that. If I hadn't gelled with John Pertwee, I wouldn't be sitting here now talking about him. Just love John Pertwee, and he was always the absolute consummate performer, which is why I'd love to hear that Desert Island discs from 60 years ago.
I think we all would, yeah.
Such a raconteur.
Missing from the archives, it says, just missing from the archives over at the BBC official site.
Yeah, I think, as I say, it's lost, it's gone, unless anybody knows where it is. But happy days, John. But Anthony, who was your doctor that you grew up with?
Well, I was going to say, Simon, I agree with you. I grew up with Tom Baker, but the imagery of John Pertwee's doctor is the thing that kind of got me hooked.
Yes.
So my cousin had I get the date right, the 1975 annual with John in the front, the photograph from Planet of the Daleks.
Yes.
So he's there in his velvet jacket, and stood on a rock and with his hands, on his hips and striking a doctory pose. And I remember being mesmerized by that as a young person, thinking, who is this man? What are these stories that they're telling in this Doctor Who annual? So, yes, I agree with you, Simon. There's some, I don't remember the episodes at all, but I remember the imagery that was around at the time when I was starting to watch Doctor Who with Tom Baker in it. And I was captivated by images like that from the Radio Times. It kind of... It speaks Doctor Who to me.
It's mystique. It is mystique, isn't it? And I can see that Tom from T-Draw Productions is saying in the chat, John Pertwee's still my favourite Doctor. And Tom, bless him, wasn't born. It was only. He's not old. Tom is not old, and yet John Pertwee still resonates down all these decades and still works for people.
I remember, getting the VHS set of Planet of Spiders, and it's the first time I'd seen it as a kid, and I was emotional at the end of it because I'd grown to love Pertwee as the third Doctor. And that regeneration scene where
heartbreaking,
a tear, Sarah Jane, and
it is. It's heartbreaking.
Super.
And it's over in seconds. That's the beauty of it. It's over in seconds. They don't linger on it.
And the thing for me, John, is in that particular regeneration scene is that Doctor looks so unwell when he comes to regenerate. He sort of looks grey, Charlotte, doesn't he? Sort of white-faced, and he looks like he's passing away.
He's broken.
Well, it's like all throughout that story, you can sort of see the life almost drain a little bit. And I don't know what it is. I think it's a mixture, if I think about it, of obviously the performance of John. And I feel like they put some makeup on or something on him because he seemed to get paler and paler.
Yes,
and then by the end, he does look ill.
And does look ill.
And even though other Doctors have had more dramatic, you could argue, sort of, especially in classic, you've got Tom's afterwards, you've got a lot of others. But no, I think it's that human edge of you seeing your hero frail. For the first time.
I agree. And I think that, that last episode of Planet of the Spiders, it really does we always talk about Legopolis as having sort of a funereal atmosphere about it, but the last episode of Planet of Spiders does as well. It really feels like it's winding up towards the end. And of course, I honestly think that a lot of the pain and the brokenness that you see in Pertwee in that final scene is because he's, as most doctors always are, he's devastated that he's leaving at that point. He didn't want to go. That wasn't his intention. He was always happy to stay on for another year. To see
Pertwee years before, to know what he was doing all those years before, Destiny had got Doctor Who lined up for him. But to see these pictures and to hear these stories and to, because we've all read lots of interviews with Jon Pertwee, we've seen him talk about his career on screen, but to actually see little snippets of it, it's worth its weight in gold now because he's been gone so long.
Yeah.
And you see these pictures stretching back through his life now, where he was dark-haired, where he was at the microphone, or when he was in uniform, when he was in service. All of these things, they all fill in the gaps, which, sadly, a great many of us now, as the series rolls on, generations are coming to the show that didn't just not know the era, but don't really know the actor, even through Wurzel, commentary, any of the other things. And so having things like this to go back to and to dig into, Simon, and to be shared as part of the diary. This is really what the diary's for, as I see it. So thank you so much for putting it all together.
You're very welcome.
This really special entry, I feel.
Yeah, it felt a little bit like striking gold dust with this one. So thank you very much, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed it. Oh, and very quickly to answer Vanessa's question in the chat, why did Pertwee not stay on? Basically, he asked for more money and they declined, and that was the end of that. Tragically, could have had him.
Thank you.
There was also a little bit of Delgado hit him, losing.
Yes,
Delgado.
undoubtedly.
There's a combination of things.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. But
We've been over it several times in the show.
Probably fair to say that had they upped his money, he would have probably stayed.
And isn't it fascinating, everybody, the thought that if Pertwee had stayed that next year and the stories had remained the same, wouldn't that have been very interesting to see the Pertwee Doctor in the Ark in space?
I was going to say that, a what-if moment, and Genesis and Daleks.
We'd never have had Tom. There we go.
And we'd never have had Tom. And what velvet jacket would he have worn on the Ark in space?
And I just, and like you say, Dan, I like the fact that this just ties very nicely in. That Jon Pertwee falls in this mid-season gap between season 1 and 2. The die was cast, wasn't it? We knew Jon Pertwee was going to be the Doctor.
It was indeed. Thanks again, Simon, for putting it all together, and to everybody watching and listening along out there on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and on X for the comments. We need more of that too. Whatever we've stirred in you, maybe it's all been so desperately moving you can barely speak or type, that you've got the benefit of time stretching out in front of you to add your comments there afterwards too. So yeah, get tapping away and share your best memories about Jon Pertwee's career and his life before and after Doctor Who, about all these little nuggets and things like that. Did you ever see him on the stage, and what do you make of his autobiographies? Because there's 2 of those, aren't there? I Am the Doctor and Moon Boots and Dinner Suits. So all of that stuff, we're very much interested in all of that too. So yeah, keep it coming. Thanks again, Simon. And yeah, that's another diary for another week. Oh, bloody hell. Sorry, mate. I forgot that, Pertwee, his luxury item for the Desert Island on Desert Island Discs. Did you see what it was?
Oh, hold on. I forgot did I forget to say what the luxury item was?
Well, he's holding it. No, I'm not talking about that.
Of course it was. His
guitar. He chose a guitar, of course, did a man of music. That he was. I've got a couple of his albums. Actually, we'll talk about that another time. But for now, yes, we've got to go off to the smallest room in your TARDIS for another golden moment with golden voices and golden faces from throughout the time vortex with the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break. We'll see you right back here in a couple of minutes.
Introducing quirks. They're different because the chocolate's on the inside, not the out, and the outside's on the mint side, not the in. So they're possibly the first ever inside-out, back-to-front mints. Don't be backward in coming forward to try them. They're delicious. Whether you're uncleaning the windows, fixing your upmake, or just putting your best foot backwards, the delicious taste makes the fly simply time-fly. New quirks, possibly the first inside-out, back-to-front mints. Try some yesterday.
I wonder what can be keeping him. Pardon, Your Excellency, but the people, they grow restless.
But my sunglasses! I can't find them! Where are my sunglasses?
Major Mondo, we had a pair of missing sunglasses to find. Perhaps I should inform the people that His Excellency is unavoidably detained.
Foster Grant sunglasses seem to do strange things for some people. Put on a pair and they seem to have just a little more self-confidence, a little more power.
I did hear, Gareth, that Nescafe is an original.
And absolutely exclusive.
It certainly is. Absolutely exclusive. Yes. The special blend and roast that gives you the richer, smoother Nescafe taste. Absolutely exclusive, Peter. In this one jar.
And nowhere else.
Just in this jar, eh? What a shame they only made the one.
Absolutely exclusive. Because Nescafe don't make coffee for anyone else.
Mrs. Turner, identify these pictures.
Thick and meaty in a rich sauce. Brains faggots. Oh, they're double faggot burgers. Rice with pineapple cubes. Sweet and sour faggots.
Hi. What other good food costs so little and lets you do so much? And here's your prize.
Use your brains. Save money.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Type 40 Live, covering the past, the present, and the future of all things Doctor Who, both on and off screen. Here we are. Yes, we're all amongst friends. Look at that. That is his phone in his pocket. We're okay. So we're across Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too, as always, with our friends there, our friends and companions. In the comments section, we have a panel stocked with Doctor Who faces and voices here too. We have Mr. Simon Horton. We have Charlotte Shields. We've got Jack in the Nerd Den. We've got Anthony Weiner too, and John Yulden as well. And we've been discussing John Pertwee, Doctor Who action figures, baubles, and dark modes, believe it or not. Who knows where we'll go in the last parts of the show. I think a couple of us are about to dematerialize, which is a pity, but it's better to be here for a while than not at all. Thanks for coming on, Jack and Charlotte. You're both heading off now, I understand.
Yeah. As people joke, my pumpkin time now. So
super duper stuff. Great to see it. And Jack, let us know if you do succumb and order those figures there at the Character Options website.
Oh, I will. And hey, you never know. In the future, there might be a little unboxing live video. Yeah.
So if people want to see that, where should they go if they want to get your unboxing videos and things like that?
They can check my YouTube channel, also called Nerd Den, where I talk about quite a few nerdy things, including Doctor Who. And I ramble about a lot of things, little bits of theories and news and stuff.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse as you get older, mate. You get used to that. Thank you so much for your company, Jack. It's great to see you always.
Bye-bye.
And Charlotte, lovely to have you back on the show. We'll see you both next time, I hope.
See you both next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.
And then there were 4.
And then there were 4. Well, 3 if you count them as well. 7 of us after all of that. Yes, this is where we're talking about Doctor Who, everybody. That reminds me. the classic series, the new series, and the all-new series too. As the series moves into a new phase, well, limps into a new phase. Happily, I'm happy to say that the official Doctor Who magazine, that does endure, and it's at least on both feet. It's about to hit its 45th birthday next week. Over 600 regular issues, dozens of specials, spin-offs, bookazines, and so on, all covering our favourite TV series. Now, you'd think in 45 years that Doctor Who magazine had hit every creative high it was possible to reach, wouldn't you? But no. This very week, Doctor Who magazine does indeed go next level, as issue 609 is in shops from today. And when I say next level, it's because it features an article from our very own Mr. Simon Horton. Is this true?
Yes, it is true. I used to write occasionally for the magazine back into the late 80s. So it's about 35 years since I last had an article published in Doctor Who magazine. But yeah, I am delighted to say that I've got an article published in Doctor Who magazine, and enormous fun it was to write as well. And thank you to Jason and Marcus for commissioning me to do it. Very, very kind of them to do it, and thoroughly enjoyed doing it. It looks great. I'm really pleased. Haven't seen it in physically in yet. I haven't actually got my hands on a copy.
This is where I get my own back for your Dalek book. Yeah, so here it is, all bagged up, there to stop it from having babies. Dan, obviously, there it is.
Can I just ask before we go any further? Inside of that packaging, is there a full Simon Horton poster?
There should be, John.
Well.
If there isn't, I want to know why not.
They asked me to do that, but they couldn't afford me, John. They couldn't afford the price.
So if you're not the what would you call it, the centerfold or the poster star?
Well, I should,
Simon. What on earth? It's only a matter of time, mate. It's only a matter of time. So what on earth is the article about?
What the article about is about when I appeared on Daytime Live, which was a daytime show that replaced Pebble Mill at 1 back in this week. Was it this week or next week? No, next week. In 1988, so for the 25th anniversary, and I was one of about half a dozen fans. At the time, I was running my my local Doctor Who group, the Whonitics. There I am, grinning away. Oh dear, oh dear. And I was forced to wear the long scarf. I didn't own a long scarf at the time, so I literally had to beg, borrow, and steal a long scarf from somebody, because the BBC said you won't get on if you don't turn up in a long scarf. So I had to get hold of a long scarf.
Do you know what? That lad sat next to you, Simon, he's actually going, that lad sat next to you, even then he's going, I can't believe it. I'm sat next to Simon Horton.
I don't think he was thinking that. I can still remember that kid. I do not know who he was. If you're out there, lime green shirt boy, please let us know. I haven't got a clue who he was. Never
Looks
got a
like
chance.
a young Troughton.
Really speak to him. It does a bit.
Well, I just noticed how he has preempted Mrs. Flood by decades by breaking the fourth wall.
Yes, very good, very good.
Yeah.
You can also see just above him, behind him, the young gentleman with the tartan scarf. That is incredibly, for anybody that is in the area, that is incredibly the leader of Birmingham Council, as is now.
I've met him.
Yeah, that literally is John Carter, the leader of Birmingham Council. So yeah, some of these people I'm still in touch with. Ian Riley's there on the back row, scowling in his white Whonitics top. And
Mary
Roger
Whitehouse at the back.
That is Mary Whitehouse. Yes,
because obviously this show was a big thing for the Silvertops, wasn't it? Way back in the 80s, just like Loose Women is now. It was around the same time.
Oh yeah, they basically used to just ship people in from old folks' homes and the like, and just pack them all into the seats. And of course, they hadn't got a clue who Doctor Who was, what it was. They didn't know what they just wanted to see Alan
Titchmarsh
fiddling with his bulbs.
It's It's like the lad in the green. They've clearly shipped him in because he doesn't know where he is, does he?
We still, do you know what, John? I still don't know where he came from because everybody else, all the other fans, were all from my group. They were all friends. I was basically phoned up on the Monday morning and told, right, okay, John Pertwee, Sophie Audred, and Sylvester McCoy are going to be on the show on Friday. So if you can get half a dozen of your friends together, get yourself a scarf, you'll be on telly. And so that's what happened. So we had a mad week to pull this all together. It's just so embarrassing. It's one of those things, and the reason this article has come about is because this has never actually been, it was only ever shown once on television, thank goodness, and it was never released on DVD either, thank goodness. Right. You know, you were saved from this fate of having to watch this, and unfortunately, it now is going to be released on the Blu-ray box set of season 25. So yeah, I'm sorry everybody, brilliant. But you are going to have to sit through me pontificating for about 15 minutes about why Doctor Who is so different. It's so different. I can assure you, it's so different. It is so different.
I'm
so you've got a treat to come, folks,
mate. I'm going to watch.
This has actually been on YouTube for quite a time in various different forms, and I actually saw this. I mean, I've been meaning to talk to you about this for a while. I was watching. I was off school. Sick at the time. I was very young. I was off school for about 3 days, and it just happened to be the day that this was on, and I recorded it. So you and I have known one another for quite a long time, Simon.
Yeah, nearly as long as this clip.
Yeah, but this was the first time I actually saw and heard of you. Several years before, when I was about like 12, 13, something like that.
And you came to the group because of this, presumably. So if you hadn't seen this clip, I might not be here now. You might never have known me. I
think we'll save that story for another time because we've been talking about doing a video about this ourselves, haven't we? So we'll save that story. It wasn't how I ended up at the Whonitics, but there's a story in that as well. Jack Thursby says Simon has barely aged.
Oh, bless you, Jack.
Yeah, he looks dapper, doesn't he? He's like the Doctor we never got. Yeah,
I just look at the spots on my chin. Look at those spots.
Stephen Braddock warns you'll be in HD, Simon.
Do you know what, Stephen? I'm delighted to say I'm not in HD. I have checked this. I'm just in standard definition. You'll be pleased to know. Mullet fashion, yeah. Thanks, TARDIS Travels. Yeah, okay. The hair did actually get cut not long after, but it was 1988. For goodness sakes. We all had our hair like that, didn't we, Anthony? Come on.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to jump in, Dan, and say that I also saw this go out live, but I hadn't bunked off school. I was significantly older, perhaps. And I remember seeing it because you will tell us, Simon, John Pertwee was there, Sophie Audred was there, and Sylvester McCoy. So this was a clip that was kind of being passed around on fan-pirated videos.
Really?
I
Dear Lord.
Remember this time, Simon, but
I do.
There would be
Simon?
like 4 episodes.
Yes.
And then, let's make up the rest of the
yes
by putting a load of collections.
Random stuff.
So, Anthony, do you mean to tell me this was being passed around in all these circles that Simon Horton had a street value?
Yeah,
he absolutely did. On the end of Braid of Morbius,
fucking hell.
Revenge of the Cybermen.
That's why they couldn't afford to do the centerfold of me, Dan. Couldn't afford
you can imagine at 2 a.m. on a dark street corner, some guy turns up and goes, "Have you got any Simon Horton?"
We got that daytime live appearance. Oh, I really want that daytime live appearance. It's the only thing I'm missing. I've never seen it.
Yeah. And John, it was just like that. That whole.
It was.
Yeah, it was just like that.
It was like that.
The day I got Sharda through the post on a VHS in a spongy envelope was a gift from heaven, I tell you. Watching just clips and then text and then clips and then you'd miss. It was
happy days.
You couldn't
happy
explain.
Days.
Yeah.
Well, you've made my day, John, Anthony, to think that I was being handed around in a plastic carrier bag along with the cheese sandwiches. I'm honoured to think.
A pirate video.
A pirate.
Everyone had a flask, didn't they? And a couple of cheese sambos. We have comments in the live chat, as always, Simon. Peter Harrington says, "Is that Judy Spires?" I have to say, I do like a ginger girl. I always thought Judy Spires was quite hot, but I was going through that awkward phase, you see.
Honestly, Dan, she was terrifying. She was absolutely terrifying.
Well, she would be
really
now. She's
was.
probably about 80.
She made me nervous. She put the willies up me. I'll tell you that much. She did. Anyway,
a classic 80s mullet, says
yeah,
Simon Ashley.
I know. Stop it. All right, let it go.
That's worth the box set all by itself. That is, without a doubt.
An 80s mullet. Look, it's not actually too different. I've still got the hair. At least I have still got the hair.
Yeah,
you certainly have, mate. And in all sincerity, I think this is absolutely fabulous. Genuinely, I'm so fond of this whole clip, this whole feature. I couldn't believe it when they left it off the DVDs.
Yeah,
it
I
was
still don't know
noticeable by its absence. I know that I think Richard was rubbing his hands and smiling with glee at the thought of getting a second pass on this. From what I've heard, I'm hoping to get Richard on again and to talk to him about this. But yeah, it's wonderful stuff. If you haven't seen it, everybody, and you're going to buy the box set, don't go and look on YouTube. Wait until this comes out, looking its very, very best as part of the box set. I'm watching you on that video, says Tom from T-Block, so people are really into it. And Jack Thursby said, where is the character options Simon figure?
Indeed.
The limited edition, obviously, through the website only.
I want my own figure, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Will the Simon Horton character options figure come in a range of clothes? Like
It should do, Anthony. Smart clothes at that, if you don't mind. With and detachable mullets.
Very good, yes.
You know, and
landmines.
serious. And seriously, the article in Doctor Who magazine, which I really enjoyed writing, genuinely, it is all true. Everything that's in there, it is. I remember it so clearly, and also because fortunately at the time that I was running the Doctor Who group, the Whonatics, and so I wrote an article for the group magazine about it. So as a result, I know exactly how it played out because it's all recorded there. I wrote the article back in 1988, so I know what I was doing. I can remember it so clearly.
And the place where they filmed Horror of Fang Rock.
100%. Spot on, Anthony. The place where they recorded Horror of Fang Rock. Absolutely.
And you have just clinched them another sale on that Blu-ray, according to Dom Go. He says that's my order on for the Blu-ray.
There you go. Perfect. And enjoy the article in the magazine. And if you do enjoy it, do please write to them and tell you how much you've enjoyed it, in the hope that they give me another article to write at some point. Please.
Yeah,
tell them.
So this is issue 609 of Doctor Who magazine, and inside the bag, inside my little bag here, I have this this cover awaiting me, featuring Paul McGann there, that brand new picture that was taken just a few weeks ago at Cadogan Hall for the special performance, the live performance of that brand new Big Finish play, The Stuff of Legend, with lots of pictures that have come out from this. It looks fantastic. McGann looks like he's having a whale of a time. So it's great to see these pictures. And in this magazine, Paul and India Fisher, of course, plays Charlie Pollard. They talk about their roles and their wider career during the break in the rehearsals for the performances there. They're speaking to Kenny Smith, I believe, another friend of the show. There's a Russell T Davies article in there who brings an update, it says, on the status of Ncuti Gatwa's second season. There's coverage of The War Between the Land and the Sea too, an exclusive preview of the spin-off with the producer Edo Ferretti. Is that a real person? It's called Edo Ferretti, it says here, and Phil Collinson. So they talk about that and reveal some new cast members. There's an item that just says here, Monster Magic. The performers behind the creatures that stalked the latest Doctor Who prom share their experiences. There's a script to screen on the episode Boom with that landmine we were looking at earlier on. And the Fact of Fiction covers the 1982 classic Black Orchid. That's Alan Barnes that writes those fantastic articles.
They are brilliant. So Vanessa Law is watching Black Orchid as we speak. She's in the middle of Black Orchid. It's I love Black Orchid.
Yeah.
That and all the regular features like Gallifrey Guardian and Shelf Life and Other Worlds and all that stuff, all in there, all in the mix, all in the bag, along with this, the paperback edition of the recent Target. No, it wasn't a Target book. It was a BBC book before. Now it's a Target book because it's gone into paperback. Fraser Hines' new adaptation of The Evil of the Daleks there. He writes it in the first person as Jamie. So this is joining the Target book line now, but exclusively as a paperback in the bagged edition of this month's Doctor Who magazine there. So that's what you get for your £10.99. bit of an increase there on the cover price.
Yeah, it's me, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, I just don't come cheap.
Blame Simon Horton. Blame Simon Horton for that, but it's available as from today, John.
They've had to drop the strip to black and white again now.
Been on the phone, make sure can we get it? Can we get it? No, we have to drop get Simon. Yes, so let us know what you think about Simon's article. That lots of people are very happy to hear about this. We have young people talking about the daytime live clip. Philip Roy, hi Philip, he says, I like the fact there's a significant structural barrier between the presenter and the Doctor Who fans. They have security reasons.
She wasn't getting too close to us, I can assure you of that.
The lad in the green shirt has got a fan club. The lad in the green shirt thinks he's sat on a roller coaster. He does look a bit nervous, doesn't he? He's about half the barrier now.
He does actually look like he's on a roller coaster. I really do want to know who he is. We never found. I think his name was Lee. I think it might have been Lee.
He was probably still there when they were demolishing it.
Probably.
Could be. Simon is costly, says Peter Harrington.
Right, so.
And Jack Thursby says, stop the press. I'm almost tempted to buy this. And Lee Smith says, the lad in the green shirt needs the spin-off show. Never mind the Sea Devils, Anthony. We want a spin-off about this kid. What happened to him? Has he still got the green shirt?
To be fair, let's have a spin-off about him, but also let's have a spin-off with McGann looking like he does Doctor Who magazine. I'm all for the land and the sea and the war and all of that, but it seems a shame that we don't have a Paul McGann spin-off where he looks like that. Without saying where and when, Paul McGann used to be a member of my gym, or the gym I attend. And there was one day I was doing a gym class. I won't say where. I was doing a gym class, and he came and stopped and looked through the glass. And do you remember that scene from the TV movie?
Yeah.
Where he puts his hand through the glass. It sort of wobbled. Well, he comes up to the glass. A true story. Comes up to the glass. So we're all doing this kind of lifting. And I'm watching. I'm thinking, look, there's Doctor Who. Look, he's looking into the gym studio. And he was coming up so close to the glass. I expected him to put his hand through, do it to go and wobble, and then him walk away.
And then in catastrophic ways, you expected to do the whole thing. Absolutely brilliant.
Looks great there. Looks great there.
Cool. Yeah, it does look good there. It does look good.
Yeah.
There is a big preview there of the next Blu-ray set as part of Doctor Who magazine, issue 609, and that includes an article there by Simon Horton as season 25 joins this prestigious line of Blu-ray releases. It seems like quite a long time since the last one, but you can't get them quick enough. So in this edition, you've got a story-by-story guide to all 4 stories that made up season 25. All of that's in there because they've all been given a sprucing up, as you would expect with these releases. So, of course, that's Remembrance, The Daleks, The Happiness Patrol, Silver Nemesis, and The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. They've been sort of reimagined. They also talked to producer Eric Luskin about the documentary that he made over in America for the New Jersey Network. If you remember, that was all about the making of Silver Nemesis, quite a notorious production in itself. And rounding it all off, they speak to Dick Fiddy and Justin Johnson from the BFI about the screening of the Happiness Patrol, the second story from the season, which is sort of where you come in, isn't it, Anthony? Because you were there, weren't you?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to. Well, I went twice, Dan. To be fair, because I went to the first screening at the BFI, and BBC Studios have provided the original broadcast tapes of the Happiness Patrol and not the special edition. So the first sitting, we watched the normal edition, if you like, the usual edition, and then we were invited back. All those people that had tickets were invited back a couple of weeks later to see the special edition at the BFI, which was great because we kind of got to see what we'd been invited to go and see, or paid to go and see. And am I allowed to talk about it, Dan? It's great.
That's what I wanted to let us in on, really. Yeah. What was the experience like? Are you a regular attendee of the BFI events? What do you think are the draws for them? What do you enjoy the most about them? And how was the Happiness Patrol in this new form?
So to answer your question, Dan, yes, I go to as many as I can get tickets for. So it's quite competitive to get tickets because, as you can imagine,
I've noticed.
you get to see Doctor Who, old Doctor Who, on a very big screen, and then you get various people to come along and talk about the production and the making of. For this one, I don't know if you agree, Simon, but for the Happiness Patrol and for me, when it was broadcast, so I was 17 years old at that point, we were being told as sort of by older Doctor Who fans that this wasn't quite Doctor Who. And I had this kind of perception, 16, 17, 18, that Doctor Who wasn't as good as it used to be. And I think when I first saw that story being transmitted, I thought, it's not like those black and white ones that everybody's telling me were brilliant and great. And I'd seen some of them, but not all of them at that point. I had my memories of Tom Baker. So the Happiness Patrol, when I first saw it, wasn't a story that necessarily, Dan, sat easily for me. But since time has moved on and time has passed, I've grown to like it more and more. But this particular special edition, which I was fortunate enough to see at the BFI, has given the story, I think, a chance to breathe a little bit. It's kind of made the world of Terra Alpha much larger than I think we saw on the television. So if you remember, it's kind of, it's a studio-based story. It's quite dark and dimly lit. But this new special edition sort of breathes life into Terra Alpha by giving those scenes that you have in those corridors. It kind of gives them a height and a scope by building, high-rise flats on top of what you existingly have in the footage. So it's not one of those kind of glib kind of cutaways where you kind of just for the sake of it, there's a shot of a planet, or for the sake of it, there's a shot of a block of flats with some flashing lights saying.
It's more immersive than that the material becomes part of something and the something becomes part of the material.
Yeah, it's really, so the CGI is really cleverly woven into the existing shots that you have.
So it's very much a special edition, is what you're saying then.
Yes, and we saw it, Simon, episodically.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big movie, a special edition movie. It was episodic. But I think the elements that are given opportunity to breathe are the relationships with Terra Alpha and the Candyman. That seems to be much bigger. The relationship, I think, between the Candyman and then the rest of the inhabitants of Terra Alpha is given opportunity to breathe. And I think that's where, where you were aware of as a fan at the time that certain bits of material had been cut out.
Yeah,
it was now going back in.
You could tell.
And now it makes sense.
So this is a re-edit as well as the CGI stuff on top. This is a re-edit as well, is it, Anthony?
Yes. Yeah, my understanding was, Simon, was Peter McTeague was there, who was responsible for the special edition. Yeah. And he said every bit of new footage that they possibly have has gone into this special edition, apart from one scene which they felt didn't quite run with the flow of what they were trying to do in the special edition. Although that scene, when we get to it, is on the extra scenes on the.
And do you know how much extra time has been added in as a result, Anthony?
It felt like at least an extra 15-20 minutes on top of the overall sort of hour and a quarter. It just felt that little bit longer. Simon, it gives the opportunity for. That's a great picture. It gives an opportunity for this story to breathe. I'm a big fan of the kind of Cartmel Doctor Who, but only in later years. At the time, I didn't really quite understand it. I didn't get it. But now, in hindsight, and over the past few years, I kind of
see what they were striving for.
Yeah, so it's great news that the other four stories are going to be given this special edition. Oh,
brilliant!
So, what was the atmosphere like as you're watching this? Was there intervals between the episodes, and you're given a little bit of time to digest it all? And what was the atmosphere like? What was the reception that it got from the general members of the public, and obviously Sylvester McCoy, Sophie Aldred, Andrew Cartmel, and Chris Clough, the director, because they were all present too, weren't they? As we can see in this fabulous picture that Lee Wood has taken.
Yeah. What's really nice, Dan, is that you get to watch Doctor Who with an audience full of Doctor Who fans, and they laugh in all the right places or the wrong places.
Yeah.
But there's that camaraderie around watching something that you really enjoy. What struck me, though, the Justin Johnson, who's one, and Dick Fiddy, who kind of run these screenings at the BFI.
Yeah.
They said, has anybody not seen this story before? Now, I would assume that audience would have been full of people that had absolutely seen it.
Knew it inside out, yeah.
It was half and half. There were people in that audience that had never seen the Happiness Patrol.
Wow.
And which I thought was great and fantastic that people would be able to access these stories in a way that we've accessed them for years and years.
Yeah.
Because in all sincerity, even though I'd love to go to one of these, travelling all that distance and paying to do so, then paying to go, and I like the social aspect of it, but I would be watching something which I know inside out. I know every little scene of the Happiness Patrol. Yeah, there's an allure to the special edition as well. There is, but probably not enough to get me down to London for the day. I think if they were in Birmingham or Coventry or Wolverhampton or even somewhere like Telford, relatively closer to me, I'd probably go, particularly to catch up with some friends. I had a lot of friends that were there, and believe me, I did have the FOMO at the time. And it was lovely to see them all, both before they were going and afterwards on social media, saying what a brilliant time they'd had. But it's a whole day, possibly a weekend away, and because they're always in London, I think it's such a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dan, I would agree, and I feel as though they could be very easily these events. I mean, look at all those people to screen them in various cinemas across the country. I don't know what the uptake for that would be, but if you dotted these cinema experiences with these panels and film them and send them to cinemas in the way that you can go into cinema and see live ballet or live shows.
From what I've seen, from the photographs I've seen from people like Ian Dudley here, who shared this one on Facebook, and Lee Wood and everybody else, is that the cinema itself, the size isn't that different to the one at the MAC, the Midland Arts Centre, at Cannon Hill in Birmingham. So I can't see why not. I don't know why it is always at the one place. Have you ever been, John?
Never been, no. And it's something I should do because it's not too far from me. It's probably, 2 hours max? So maybe I might have to try and get into the next one because, I mean, any opportunity to watch Doctor Who's great, but to see it coming for a box set release, especially a special edition.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, they've still got to do season 7, season 13, season 21. There's some great
still a good chunk to come. Still a good chunk to come. Here we've got a friend of the show. We've got friend of the show, Dominic Glynn, there, who we saw just a few weeks ago, didn't we? In Derby, Simon, at Hooverville. Yep. We got him on camera. You can catch our latest interview with Dominic Glynn because we have bothered the man a few times. You can catch our latest interview with him on the channel. So there he is with Marquez there, talking about the music of the Happiness Patrol. And I understand the guy in the middle there is the bloke who played the harmonica on the Happiness Patrol. Is that
he was 18 years old, Dan.
Really?
On the panel, he was 18 years old, and the actor that they asked about the harmonica player, of course, often with actors, can you ride a horse? Can you play the piano? Oh yes, said this man. No, he couldn't. So they got him to come along and play the harmonica instead.
Wow.
Brilliant. Gary's in the live chat from the Big Blue Box and says BFI screenings are fantastic. If you can somehow get tickets, it's worth it. I was lucky enough to be put on the guest list for this one by somebody involved with the Blu-ray set. It was a great day.
We know people involved in the Blu-ray box sets, Dan. Where are our complimentary tickets? Come on.
There's some good mates who work on these things. Never got a single one. Okay, so there they are. There's Mark and Dominic and the harmonica guy. Sorry, harmonica guy. We'll get your name for when we talk about it in greater depth. And here's Chris Clough and Andrew Cartmel, Sylvester McCoy, Sophie Aldred, Dick Fiddy, another bloke whose name I've forgotten, and this is the big panel. John Asbridge, that's it. But the person I was most interested in is the lady in pink. Now, in the first screening, they'd got Sheila Hancock, hadn't they? And that's a coup because she's a legend, that woman of stage and screen for decades. But I hate to say, I'd be a lot more interested in hearing this one speak, because at one time she was a major face on British television, not just for this role in Doctor Who, but as one of the cast members of a huge British sitcom called Dear John in the mid-90s. Do you remember Rachel Bell in that, Simon?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Of course I do.
She played Priscilla P in The Happiness Patrol all the way back in 1988. Bless her. I don't think I've ever heard her talk about Doctor Who, about playing this part, or even read an interview with her. So I'd love to have been there and heard what she's got to say. I can only assume that she's on the Blu-ray release in some way, speaking somewhere.
One story that she told Dan in that afternoon on that Sunday was that she had met Sylvester McCoy in a pub, and they had been together as he was going off to do the Doctor Who rehearsal, audition to become.
Oh, wow.
And she kind of wished him good luck as off he went. Isn't that a fab story?
Oh, bless. You see, this is where what it is a shame. I think you're right, Anthony. There is room here for them to screen these. I know what you're saying, Dan. It would be great to have them outside London, but I guess I get why they're not doing them outside London. But there's absolutely no excuse at all for them not screening them in art cinemas around the country, where you get the screening of the episodes and then they stream live the interviews on stage. There's no reason why they couldn't be doing that. I don't know, because I'd pay. So many people would pay to go and see those. I really don't.
I would.
You don't get these in the sets, do you? Either.
No,
you know,
no. So we never see them, John.
Yeah,
never see them.
Yeah, I agree.
And John,
some of them turn up on the BFI's YouTube channel, I think.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Some of them, but not all of them.
I was going to say, John, it's such a scrum to get those tickets because they sell out in minutes.
Oh, I'm a scrapper.
Yeah, it really is, John. And I've become a member of the BFI to go into the the early sale of these tickets, and even then you don't get them. So it's not a guarantee. You just,
they are missing. So they are missing a trick by not streaming these to cinemas across the country, so that everybody could go and see them, and everybody's got the chance to see them. It seems a tragedy. It's always seemed a tragedy to me that they don't do that.
A friend of the show, Keith Isles from Home Media Minefield, he works in the TV and film industry, and he's a member of the BFI and has been for years. He can never get the tickets either for any of the screens that he tries to get to. So yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it all before. I remember Dear John, says Matt Pott. I didn't think Matt Pott would be up, mate, particularly as your time zones have changed. It's good to see you there, though. I hope you're having a relaxing morning. There's so many great seasons yet to come on Blu-ray, says Peter Harrington, and we need a Troughton one. But this is the final McCoy release. Am I right, Simon?
Yep. It is. Yes, that's it. McCoy's done. We've only got one more. Peter Davison. What is the 2 Toms, 2 Pertwees? Yeah,
the gaps are being filled in, aren't they?
Simon, don't forget Twin Dilemma. You don't have that one yet either.
Thank you. I was trying to forget Twin Dilemma until you reminded me of it. Thank you, Anthony.
There's one Colin Baker we don't have.
Yeah, I am looking forward to this though. This is my childhood where I was at school at the right time.
Oh, bless you.
It was a special moment. I am really looking forward to this, and I can't wait to just watch a story, put the next version on, and just keep going. And no one's going to see anything of me. I'm just going to disappear with my Blu-ray player as long as it takes.
Good for you.
Although I wasn't falling out of love with Doctor Who at this point, I was still really, really into it and about to get into organised fandom. But the Davison and Colin Baker eras had become kind of my eras where I felt most connected to it. It was starting to become something else, and I was kind of like you, Anthony. I was sort of trying to keep up with it. Okay, where's it going to go next? Do I like this as much as the other stuff? Am I still on board with this? And I still did find it was still very much the same show, still very engaging, still something I was very proud to be a fan of. And, I would read every single word of Doctor Who magazine, and Sylvester McCoy did become hero, and Sophie Aldred, come to think of it, lifelong heroes of mine, and John Nathan Turner even. This was a special time. This 25th anniversary year may not have had 5 Doctors and some of the things, and a huge convention at Longleat that we'd had like just 5 years earlier. But it did have something. I think it was very much what we made of it as Doctor Who fans. And it was sort of, looking back, it represented a real sort of changing of the seasons when it came to Doctor Who, where I think we were preempting. We may have known in our water collectively that we were going to lose this show. And I think fandom was preparing ourselves for it, preparing each other. And yeah, there's something about these episodes which represents a kind of last hurrah, I suppose, from this point onwards. And I'm looking forward to seeing them again, particularly with all this attention lavished on them, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest, Remembrance of the Daleks is my favourite from this season. I still remember that pre-credit sequence, just the pre-credit sequence.
Magical.
You just sort of punch the air moment as you kind of think, yeah, Doctor Who is back and it is good and it is okay and it's all right. Yeah, so that's the one I'm particularly looking forward to see. And are you saying, Anthony, that all 4 stories have re-edits? They're providing re-edited versions, new versions for everything?
Yeah, I believe so. Alongside the
standard
transmitted.
Yeah, the
so
original.
It looks like there's going to be quite a lot of material for us to, like John was saying, to get through, which is very exciting. Dan, the point you raised about, you mentioned that, in our fan conscious, this was kind of, we knew the end was nigh, but we didn't quite know when. It's quite interesting with Remembrance of the Daleks that you go back to Coal Hill School.
Yes.
And, you're going back to where you started in that anniversary year. And I remember as a fan at that time, there was lots of conversations about the Pamela Salem character in Remembrance as being Barbara Wright, and that these characters were being recast. And it was like, is that really, like the fan rumor, the fan gossip? So they were watching, fans who were watching this character cross over the road to Coal Hill School. And they're going, is that Barbara? That's a reimagined Barbara.
Yeah.
And it's like, are we going back? Are we having are we having David Bradley 20 years earlier? Are we recasting all these people?
And I remember the year after, I think it must have been 1989 as opposed to 1988, that Dwas held a convention in the school that is top left at the moment on that picture. So I went to that. I went to the convention in the school, and it was just so immediately identifiable. It was such a good idea to have a convention in the school itself where they filmed Remembrance of the Daleks. Great fun, happy days.
And that school, Simon, looks exactly the same.
Yes, it hasn't changed at all, has it?
Has even today, in the last couple of months when I drove past it, it looks exactly the same.
It still looks the same. You're quite right.
Great stuff.
Great, yeah. It was 1988. How long ago? 36?
36 years ago.
Change the subject, somebody. Gary reminds us of that final line from a year later. Come on, Ace, we've got work to do. It pulls at his heartstrings every time. It absolutely does. I mean, at the time, it didn't really affect me that much, but now I think it's the meaning after the fact. We that closed it out. Yeah,
because we still didn't know at that precise moment in time whether it really was the end or whether it was coming back. We didn't know at that point.
I want to say hi all to the Peter Venkman fan site simply for having a cool name and celebrating somebody who was the epitome of cool. From the heartstrings to the wallet strings. Just to backtrack, Doctor Who magazine number 609. That's in the shops as from today, price $10.99. Everybody, so you're getting that bagged edition there, the physical copy. You get not only the latest edition of the magazine itself, but you get that paperback of Evil of the Daleks by Fraser Hines too. So go and grab that, get Simon's article read, and then go and pester them on social media for more from Simon Horton.
Yay!
And please go and tell Doctor Who magazine that Type 40 sent you as well. Doctor Who The Collection Limited Edition Season 25 big Blu-ray set. When's that out? That's out now. This has been pushed back a couple of times. It's actually coming out on the 28th of October 2024, John, until you can finally slide this into position on your shelf there.
Oh my gosh, I'm starting to hyperventilate.
It's orgasmic, isn't it?
That image. Yeah.
I'm hoping I get a contributor's copy. Seeing as I'm on the blessed thing.
Mate, if you don't ask, you don't get.
You're in the book. You're in the book, Simon. There's a big like folding in the booklet. Yeah.
Oh dear, oh dear. So yeah, the people who've asked, I can understand why you've lost track. That's when it's coming, October the 28th there for the next of the collection, Doctor Who The Collection on Blu-ray, and we'll be looking at it in depth at some point in the future. Some of it here and there, I don't doubt, and what a brilliant thing to look forward to watching in the anniversary month itself. Where shall we go next? Oh, I know. I think we should go here.
And you know, Dan, your viewers are smart people. The very smartest, I'm told. Everyone says so, and I think they should know the truth, which everyone has been saying, is that Russell T. Davies and Phil Collinson, they've been going into these neighborhoods in Cardiff, and they've been eating the dogs, eating the cats, eating all the pets. My people tell me it's true. It's all true, and it's sad, very sad.
That's brilliant. That's it.
One more thing, as if we could forget one more thing. As ever, we're rounding things off with a last look at the view screen. It's our regular eye into your temporal schism in search of the prettiest pictures from out there, up there in the Whoniverse.
Quiet, Dan. You kept that quiet, didn't you? Kept that under your shirt, under your hat, didn't you?
Well, yeah, it's yeah, we have to go and check out the playlists. You never know who's going to turn up, do you? Okay, so this is where we look at fan art and creativity in all its forms, Martha. Yeah, it's okay. It'll be fine. So I'm talking about digital art, traditional art, crafting, like this fabulous post-box topper, and any kind of cosplay, that kind of thing. We want to get it up on the view screen here to celebrate the artistic endeavours and accomplishments of Doctor Who fans from all over the world and other worlds. If possible, send them in wherever it is you're from. We're not proud, not for a single moment. And the first piece is actually inspired by the last item there on the Season 25 Blu-ray set. And this fabulous print, I think this is wonderful. It's by Nevsky 86. I don't know if they were born in 86. They could have been. And if so, they were, so they were just about around to see the Happiness Patrol just 2 years later in 1988. Could be it formed, it imprinted on them at a very early age and meant that they couldn't help but create this fabulous art print that you can buy out there on their website. Check it out.
Whoa.
Cool.
That's cool.
A cute Candyman, Simon.
That's very, very cool, isn't it? That sort of that stares into your soul, doesn't it? It's literally making my eyes go googly. Those eyes are literally making my eyes
I
go
really
googly.
like this. I mean, first of all, I don't see much Candyman fan art, Anthony, but when I do, I'm always impressed by it because there's so much going on the Candyman himself, isn't there? So it's probably a difficult thing to turn into any kind of art. Isn't an offence to the eyeballs.
Yeah, and that's great, isn't it? That's really good. It sort of reminds me, Dan, of the time when I first saw the Candyman for the very first time, which wasn't as a viewer. Simon, you'll probably agree. It's a bit like these photographs that get passed around Doctor Who fan groups.
Yeah,
and I remember being privy to being in one of these Doctor Who groups, and somebody saying, "I've got a picture of the new Doctor Who monster."
Yeah, I remember
it was
that.
like, what? And this photograph, this kind of crumpled photograph, and it's quite a familiar picture now, but at the time it had been unseen, and it was Sylvester McCoy looking at the Candyman just like this, looking up at him. And that was the first time I saw the Candyman, and I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, we all thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I thought it was a joke. But actually, now you understand the story a little bit more, and you understand the intent of that character. It's actually quite scary, to be fair. I'm more scared by that image and what actually subsequently happened by watching the episode. If you read into it a little bit more, it's kind of a terrifying character, isn't it?
He looks like he looks very stern there. I think that Nevsky has caught.
Looks like Mr. Pringle. From the Pringle wrapper, he's got the kind of patch, sort of.
I'd never really noticed. Pete Harrington says, I always thought you got a handlebar moustache, and I'd never actually noticed before. But yeah, he has. The Candyman has got a bit of a.
People do seem to like this. Yeah, we've got Stephen Braddock said, "Sweets for my sweet." He says. Vanessa Law said, "That's very creative. I like it."
Yeah, it is creative.
I do like my Candyman. Says Matt Pott. He's a fan. He's a fan. And Cheryl,
I love him. Yeah,
says it's awesome, John.
Yeah, that picture's great, and I'm same as Matt. I loved the Candyman. I really did, and I loved it when Big Finish brought him back as well, which is great. So give me more Candyman art. I'll put him on the wall.
Is it a joke? Says Lord Thorpe.
It really was real.
So eye-catching, says Stephen Braddock.
It is.
Mesmerising eyes, says Pete Harrington. Yeah, it is.
Those eyes.
Yeah, so I really like this one. Go and check out Nevsky's work there across social media, Instagram and X. Anthony, sorry, you were going to say?
I was going to say, I'm amazed that the BBC got away with that.
Yeah,
Well, they didn't really, did they?
Well, they won the case. They did win the case incredibly, and I still don't know how they won the case.
Because that head, beautifully created here in this artwork, but that head is clearly, isn't it, a licorice sorrel?
Yeah,
those nice blue bubbly ones.
Yeah. I mean, it really was copied on Bertie Bassett. There's just no two ways about it. It was copied on Bertie Bassett. So how they got away with it, I really don't know. I still don't know to this day.
Sadly, the Candyman has not ever really. I'm fond of the Candyman as well, but he's never joined that sort of pantheon, has he, of perennial Doctor Who monsters that people speak about with the right kind of bated breath, not like the Daleks. And we haven't had any Dalek fan art for a little while, I don't think. But here's a fabulous new piece from Phil Shaw. This is at the moment, the final fight, the desperate fight, John, at the culmination of Revelation of the Daleks, when the Renegade and Imperial Dalek forces are about to come to blows or to blasts on Necros. Do you remember this?
Oh, absolutely. How can I forget it? It's great. Again, going back to me as a kid, seeing two different Dalek factions that, went on to Remembrance. I was just punching the air as a kid, and I still punch the air now when I watch them. It is great, and this takes me back to the Panini comic strip as well, where they sort of filled in the gaps between this story and Remembrance.
The idea of that war within Dalek factions and the things that were dividing them, like all. We're seeing it now. Far left ideologies such as fascism and socialism, eventually they turn on one another, and that's beautifully captured in this development for the Daleks in those Eric Saywood stories in particular.
Yeah,
I mean, Revelation of the Daleks is in my top 10 favourite stories. I absolutely adore this story, and
you said that before, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love Revelation. I just think it's a superb piece of television and drama, and just beautifully
100%.
Played out.
What I adore about
love
Phil's work is that this could be a moment you could convince yourself
that
this was a photo from the story. He's not embellished it in any real way. That looks like the studio floor at Television Centre, for example.
Yeah.
It's just a magnificent piece of art. So it's obviously digital art. I'm trying to work out, has he just taken
completely
photos, manipulated them, or is it?
It's completely digital.
Yeah, it's just magnificent, superb, and of course that's again sort of how you wanted Revelation of the Daleks to look, and it doesn't quite. But I still love it. But it would be epic if it looked like that.
I was gonna say the same, Simon. I mean, that photo, that digital image from Phil is amazing. It's the bits you missed, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the bits we didn't see that you really would have quite liked to have seen.
Yes.
Had the budget stretched to a bit more of that, because that's a great image. We didn't see that
because the battle's over too quickly, and you get the impression because you see the Doctor running down a corridor. You know, we want the Doctor's the hero. You know, you want to be with him in many respects, but in the background you can hear Dalek gunfire, and you think, well, I'd kind of like to see that as well.
But no.
Look, this is what I want from new Doctor Who. Just give me Dalek faction wars again.
Yes,
just bring it back. I would love it. You know, I would be singing and jumping.
Or John, Daleks versus Mechanoids. You could get your new Mechanoid out there for Tudor. You could be battling there on the dining room table and all that kind of thing, annoying the family.
They could commission Tom as well, couldn't they? You know,
they could. Just imagine. That's marvellous, says Richard Brooks there in the live chat. Tom is a fan of the white and gold Daleks. I think he's made a couple of those, hasn't he, in the past?
Yeah, I know.
Superb.
It's his favourite livery, and I love the white and gold Daleks. And when you look at it now,
me too.
You've kind of got to stand back for a second and think, what on earth were they thinking? Painting Daleks white and gold. Whoever thought that would work? But it does. They're magnificent. But it was a really bold choice to do. Yeah. Completely barking mad.
I agree, Simon, but I like them too. But I prefer the Remembrance version of those white and gold Daleks, because they've got a slightly bigger base, haven't they?
Yes.
And it's slightly reimagined again.
Yeah.
And I'm very fond of those white and gold ones from Remembrance, as we'll see in the box.
They're slightly chunkier, aren't they, in Remembrance?
But they feel heavier.
And the lights, the lights are different as well, aren't they? On the dome, you know.
Yes.
They all at the top. Yeah. Great.
Gary from the Big Blue Box is also hungering for some warring Dalek factions on screen again here. John's very much echoed your thoughts on that. And Ezra Goldstein says, fantastic Dalek artwork. I think it's wonderful. I'm along similar lines to you. I think I do prefer the Remembrance ones, but there's not much in it. I've noticed as well that another touch that Phil has included here is that the Dalek's sucker arm, the lower part of it is gold, but when it extends, if you notice, the extension element is silver. So obviously we didn't see that on screen at the time. So it's a bit cheeky, but it almost certainly did extend because all the others did, and therefore why not? You know, it's a little way in which Phil's been indulged himself to use his imagination in the tiniest degree. To just make it that little bit bigger, and so exactly, Sam. You can not even excuse that creative license. No. You can enjoy that creative wrinkle from somebody who's so fantastic at what he does. I can't recommend this enough. Go and follow Phil Shaw over on X. There are so many beautiful images. We wouldn't know. We'd just be sharing Phil. It's like Daryl Joyce and various other people. We could quite easily just share their work every single week, and we could just shut up for the entire show and just show you loads of their stuff. To be quite honest, absolutely wonderful. Go and follow Phil Shaw on X, and please tell him that Type 40 sent you. What else? Yes, another friend of the show, somebody we've spoken to a couple of times. He did a full hour show with me about 18 months ago when he was some way into the task that he'd given himself to produce a huge mural that celebrated all of 60 years worth of Doctor Who in pencil crayon form. Very elaborate pictures, one each for each Doctor's era, including elements not just from the TV show, but the audio dramas and all sorts of things as well. Very nuanced artwork, beautifully realised. And he's the only artist who has any of his work included in the current exhibition that's in Somerset at the moment. He's the only artist whose work isn't tied to merchandising in some way that's proper fine art. I'm talking of Connor Adkins, of course I am. We caught up with him again at Hooverville in Derby a few weeks ago, and he was a little way into a piece revolving around Sutekh, the Doctor Who villain that was obviously originally seen in the Pyramids of Mars. And, the reappearance in season 1 this year may have left a bad taste in some mouths. I think a lot of us do feel that the character has been sullied in some way. But when it inspires artwork like this from Connor Adkins, well, maybe in time we can live with it. I want to congratulate Connor on the completion of another piece that he was working on this actually at the Quad in Derby, and here it is in all its glory. It's a nice job he's made of that.
Yeah.
What cracking.
Yeah.
Absolutely superb.
Yeah.
Big Finish elements are included as well. There, Johnny's got the McCoy Doctor there.
He has, isn't he? Yeah.
Why is Leela there? As I'm assuming then Leela has also been in a Sutek story for Big Finish, has she?
That's right. Yeah. So he's really gone to town and pulled in, and we've got Lisa Bauman there as well as Bernice Summerfield. There's various things as well. Obviously, it would be criminal not to have the Fourth Doctor in the dead centre, and quite rightly looking up at Gabriel. Is it Gabriel Wolfe who played the character originally? Yeah. Again, so it's arranged really, really nicely, finished off beautifully, and Connor puts so much thought and time into his work. I'll always celebrate everything Connor does, and maybe time will heal Simon. The effect there of Sutek's time tunnel is what sets this off beautifully, I think.
Yeah, it's absolutely magnificent, and even the new Sutek works well in that kind of context. You kind of think, okay, maybe the new Sutek was just mishandled in the episode, and could have worked with a different treatment, with a different story. And I love as well the fact that the servant of Sutek is down bottom left, very bottom left, just hiding. Because that was always one of my absolute favourite elements of Pyramids of Mars, was that servant of Sutek. Just utterly terrifying as a kid. I remember just being utterly terrified by Pyramids.
YW in the live chat says, I love that. It's got a fantastic from Richard Brooks. Connor, if you're watching. Cheryl says he is mind-blowing, fantastic artwork. Peter Harrington loves the Vortex too.
Yeah. And it's all pencil crayons,
is it?
It's
all pencil crayon. Stephen Braddock echoes your thoughts, Simon. He's made the new Sutek look good, and Ezra Goldstein says it's fantastic. John, what are your thoughts, mate?
Well, I adore what he's done there, but in the bottom right, I was going to say this just says to me what that story that in the last season missed, and it was those mummies.
Yes, I agree.
I think it would have elevated the story more if they'd had mummies in it as well, because that would have been great.
I think you'll find, my friend, that is cultural appropriation.
Oh, they're coming for me. They're coming for me.
It is a shame because you do look at that, and had they leaned into the design aesthetic of Pyramids of Mars, I think we would probably view that last story very, very differently to how we view it. There was nothing wrong with the design aesthetic of Pyramids of Mars. In fact, on the contrary, it was near damn perfect.
Well,
so Connor's work proves it, that it could have all tied together really beautifully. Anthony, what have you been following? Are you aware of Connor's work here?
I'm not, but this piece is fantastic. I love the vortex in the background, which is what everybody else has said. But doesn't it just remind you of the mask of the original Sutek?
Yes.
Isn't that terrifying?
It is terrifying.
I'm mesmerised by
epic, in fact,
by that creation, if you like. And I was thinking recently about the Five Doctors, and as you do, and
always,
I never stop. 41 years.
Absolutely. But Sutek was supposed to be the main villain in an early treatment of the Five Doctors.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So forget about the Master, forget about anybody else, that Sutek was going to be Machiavellian somehow between the events of the Five Doctors.
Yeah, I've forgotten that.
An idea that they dropped. And here's RTD2 resurrecting that notion almost, that this Sutek character is, has been following the Doctor ever since. But that original mask, gosh, you can't beat that.
I agree, Anthony. That original mask, there was no need to change it. In the current series, there was no need to change it. It is a work of genius, that original mask. And I don't know whether, again, the same effect was had on you by the jackal head once the mask fades away at the end of Pyramids of Mars, and you get that jackal head. Seriously, that is probably the freakiest thing ever to appear in Doctor Who, period. I just remember as a kid.
My number one story because of all of those elements.
That jackal head is just nightmarish, terrifying.
And I was going to add, not to name drop, but because of my interest in Doctor Who and where I live in the country, when Bernard Archer lived very close to me, and we struck up a friendship because of Doctor Who. So this kitchen that I'm sat in here now, I once had dinner with Bernard here, and he talked about Doctor Who always very fondly, particularly the fact that Power of the Daleks didn't exist anymore.
I was going to say he'd done it a couple of times, hadn't he?
Yeah, he was desperate to see an old episode of Spycatcher, which made him very famous.
Yes,
but he said he got more letters for Pyramids of Mars.
Of course, he did.
Anything else that he ever did in his career, and you'd get him to do the voice. Could you do the voice of?
Can you just say Warlock?
Warlock. And he was very fond. He was very fond. Can't speak. He was very fond of Peter Copley, who played Dr. Warlock, and they shared similar interests academically.
I bet they did. You can tell
they aspired. They were obviously very good friends and continued to be good friends until Bernard died, or the other way around. But Bernard said he got more recognition from Pyramids of Mars, and also for his appearance in Emmerdale before the plane crashed and they wiped out all of the cast. But so when I see that, I think of Bernard, but I also think of that mask of Suter, which is great.
Did he kind of embrace the fun of it, because he was a very how can I put this, a very prolific actor, wasn't he? A very respected actor, and he'd done Doctor Who a couple of times, and here he was in a story which his character's quite broad. He's the guy who's painted, he's ashen faced and talking that kind of voice. Did he enjoy the fun of that, being associated with that, do you think?
He absolutely did, and loved the letters and the fan mail and the things to sign. He just thought it was incredible. As he was getting into his older years, into his late 80s, he would read letters to me that he had been sent by fans, and they would always say at the end of it, "Good luck in your career." And he always used to laugh. He used to go, "Anthony," he said, "my career's over. I'm nearly 90. But the letters would always say, "Could you sign this? And good luck in your career." And it's like, do they not realise how old I actually, how I am?
Bless his heart.
He talked about Paddy Russell a lot, and he remembers being asked to stay behind his words after school to make sure that performance was absolutely right. So it was quite interesting to hear his view of Pyramids of Mars, because I was telling him he's in probably one of the best Doctor Who stories that's ever been, in my opinion.
Too.
I think in most
Power of the Daleks, and now immortalised by Connor Adkins here in his latest piece there in beautiful pencil crayon. As always, go and follow Connor over on X as well. And please tell him that Type 40 sent you. Hopefully we'll get Connor back on the show at some point. I think he's been on 2 or 3 times now, but he's always working on something. He's somebody I've got a lot of time for. Really sweet guy, very talented, dedicated man. Please go and follow Connor and see what he's got to say about all of this. Yes, so that is another fabulous selection of pretty pictures there, but we're very, very greedy here at Type 40 Live, and we've got huge walls to fill up with this stuff. We check it out. So yes, we need some more, basically. Send us its way, or it our way. We don't really care how it works, just as long as we get more fan art up to fill the walls of our time and space capsule at Type 40 Live. Digital art, like Phil Shaw's there. Traditional art, you can't get much more traditional than Connor Adkins there with his piece of Sutek. We like cosplay as well. We like crafting. Anything artistic, let's have it. God, what a show. What a fabulous one this has been. And we've had a brilliant time. If you have too, then get in touch with us through our social media, Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who with all of that. Even if you hadn't, please get in touch anyway. And all constructive criticism is ever appreciated, everybody. So head over to the social medias and get in touch. You can join us too in the Type 40 Facebook group, still ticking along there nicely after how many years? Been going longer than the podcast has, 8 years or so. You can join in too with this bunch of reprobates. Well, 1 or 2 of them, maybe. 1 of them, perhaps. You'll only find out for certain, really, won't you? If you join the Type 40 Facebook group and get stuck in. Right, okay, so we've only got 3 tarts and there's 4 of us. Okay, Well, I'm the host, so I'll have them. I'll have whatever's in the cold mug. You get a tart. You get a tart each. But then you're going to argue about who gets the yellow one, Anthony. So, what would you go for, the strawberry or the lemon curd? What tart would you head for?
I think I'd go for the. I think I'd go for the lemon curd tart. To be fair.
Well, I think that'd be permitted because it's his first show, John.
I think he's allowed all three, quite frankly. For his first show.
Simon, this is the latest I've stayed awake for ages. It's brilliant. It's quite heady.
Bless you.
Will Matron be round in a moment with the jelly?
Yeah.
Anthony, you've been a fabulous sport and a fount of knowledge and good humour. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Type 40 Live.
Thank you, Anthony. Been a pleasure.
Brilliant.
Come again.
I'm sure that people have recognised your face and your voice from various things that you've done, and hopefully, you will come back and we can tap in on some of that, exploit some of that, and get to know you a little bit better. Because it's been brilliant to spend this last couple of hours with you. But you are on X. You do some social media, don't you? But you're not a heavy user.
No. I like watching this show, Dan. I loiter. So I keep abreast of
very
things,
wise.
But don't often.
Best to.
Very, very wise. Well, we'll have to get you back in sooner rather than later.
I've had a great time. Thank you very much for everybody welcoming me. It was great.
Lovely to have you here.
Some fabulous comments here in the live chat, John. I think people are talking about all sorts of things. Another fantastic show. That's what we like to see. Shout out to Jack and Charlotte, of course, as always. Brilliant to have Jack back with us. And Charlotte, of course, she'll be back next week. The World of Hammer Horror, The World of Hammer, celebrates the films of Peter Cushing. Ooh. Friday next week at 9:05 on Talking Pictures TV, according to Crimply and Doubloon. John, are you a fan of the Hammer movies, John? I am.
Yeah, I am. Do you know what? I've been toying the last 2 weeks of getting the box set. Because I just love Hammer for all of them. Yeah. So I will be watching that. I think I will set the recorder after the show, and that's it. So that's another reason why I'll be disappearing soon. Hammer Horror and Doctor Who box set.
Brilliant. It's been great to have you on as always, John. People can find you on social media if they choose to, can't they? If they want some more of the good stuff. Which do you do? Which ones do you do, and where do you do it?
Well, I'm on X, or what was Twitter. And it's Gallifrey11. So feel free to come and say hello if you want to, and you can listen to my usual eccentric ramblings. So enjoy yourselves. And
Simon,
thanks
I know you
for the show, everyone. It's been great, and
John, always a pleasure.
They've been rocking again, so it's good.
Simon, I know you've been suffering a little, mate, but thank you for weathering the course, mate. Particularly that fabulous diary tonight.
It was all good fun. Thank you. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I was feeling very, very miserable before I came on tonight. So everybody's cheered me up enormously. So thank you. I feel a lot better than I did at the beginning of the night. So
and the comments are still coming, but that is it. It's time to give it a good old crank. But you can join us again very, very soon. Same time and space for more hot takes, pet peeves, rants and raves at Type 40 Live. So please make sure you're subbed, because you never know when we're going to spring up next. A few of us, or two or three of us, or one of us, you never know here at Type 40. But we always have the time if you have the space. We'll see you again soon. We'll see you in the comments section, I hope, with your takes on all of that. Have a great weekend. Speak to you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.